Chapter 76. Then persuade the man to go to District 11. That place is close to the sea everywhere, and there are a total of 43 counties and 2 houses. Except for Tokyo, many of them are in the countryside, and it's fine even if the trouble is a bit bigger. After all, the Foundation in that place is not that powerful, and most of the items contained are not very powerful. Not only is the ceremony easy and not easy to be arrested, she can also have a good time. Thinking about this, SCP-953, who was still a little regretful, finally picked a girl with a middle-to-the-middle appearance in her early 20s. It doesn't look like a virgin. SCP-953 is a little unhappy with its 9 foxtails dangling. The young woman was desperate when she found herself being picked. No. Don't. Please, let me go. She struggled to get rid of the cultists who guarded her, and fled wildly outside like a headless fly. Surprisingly, the cultists around did not stop her, and they all looked at her indifferently. Although the young woman was astonished, she felt a sense of luck that she might be able to escape successfully. When she was about to reach the intersection of the mountain, as if she saw the dawn of life, she suddenly found that her body was abnormal, and her brain felt dizzy for a moment. But there was no change in front of her, and the people around her were indeed getting farther and farther away. I made it. The young woman felt absurd as she was dreaming. I don't know why these people didn't chase after them. The woman only sees the entrance to the mountain. As long as she gets there and enters the dense forest, she has a chance to escape from here. It's just that after running for a while, why haven't you arrived? Unlike the scene she saw, in the eyes of other people, the young woman was just walking around in circles. The excitement and hopeful look on her face was faintly visible. SCP-953 stared at this person in circles with interest. This is the ability she possesses. In addition to being deformed, she also has a moderate level of hypnosis and telepathy. Although not enough to deceive outside observers, a bewildered person will be deceived by the illusioned environment including SCP-953, himself, and surrounding objects. Boring evil taste. K looked on coldly. He has always killed people simply and neatly, and would not deliberately torture each other. However, no one alone can influence the ritual, so SCP-953 will go. Almost until I got tired of playing, seeing the young woman panting, it was estimated to be the limit. SCP-953 just gently hooked her finger. Immediately, the young woman realized that she was about to step out of the top of the mountain. In front of her, the charming fox girl was looking at her with a smile. Am I about to escape successfully? Why am I still here? With a blank face, the young woman looked around subconsciously and found that she was still standing in place. Everything just now is just an illusion. The look of despair came out of her eyes. Seeing the scene clearly, she immediately understood what had happened. Without answering, she knew that she had been fooled by thinking. Sitting down on the ground, the young woman collapsed completely. No. Don't eat me. Please. What SCP-953 enjoys is torturing people to mental breakdown. Seeing the poor woman lying on the ground weeping and crying, she gets great psychological satisfaction. Reaching out and raising the woman's chin, the 9-tailed fox girl licked the corners of her mouth, savoring the sweet tears she shed out of fear. It's over? Then, I'm going to start. Immediately afterwards, in the woman's gaze of fear to the limit, she opened her abdomen and took out Cai's bloody liver. Soon, the second victim was dragged away by the cult nearby. She might be grateful for the way SCP-953 bestows death. Because compared to the 2 young women, the others died much worse. Head, waist, and limb beheading, various ugly and terrifying rituals that break through the limits of human senses, take place one after another in the open space on this mountaintop. One after another screams sounded from time to time. With each wailing, the naked villagers twist their ugly bodies and perform dances that subvert people's imagination, beating wildly in the noisy music of various messy musical instruments. Kay witnessed this scene with satisfaction. The dead person's body was hung on the treetop, waiting for the last drop of blood in his body to drain. Darkness in the dense forest. Xia Ruobing, with a cold face, watched this scene without any emotion. She suppressed her anger and tried not to let her emotions dominate her actions. As long as she enters the task rhythm, she will briefly abandon her emotions and act only for how to complete the task. What's more, seeing too many similar scenes has long lost the impulse that could not be restrained at the beginning. However, it is still impossible to forgive these people who caused the tragedy of hell on Earth. Captain, can you go on? Jiang Wei asked with suppressed anger. Xia Ruobing glanced at the team around 350 quietly surrounding the top of the mountain, and whispered, "Wait another minute. This operation is not allowed to fail." Xia Ruobing will never forgive himself if he is worried about the short-term sacrifice, causing the target person to escape and causing more people to suffer harm. Therefore, even if she watched the lives of 3 more innocent people pass away, she remained steadfast. Jiang Wei knows the captain's rules of conduct, which is precisely her character, and has repeatedly escaped from the trap. Not only him, everyone in the team knows and respects the captain from the heart. The captain could not be blamed. Jiang Wei had no choice but to get bored, gritted his teeth and vowed to let the people behind the scenes die extraordinarily miserable. With an iron will, Xia Ruobing ignored what other people were thinking and counted down the time silently. 59, 58, 57, 10, 9.3, 2, 1. Action. With a low drink, she was the first to stand up and rush forward. Jiang Wei couldn't wait long ago, and he lifted up his spirits and immediately followed the pace. At the same time, the special team that had all surrounded the top of the mountain received a signal to rush out of the dark dense forest. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 77. The sudden change caused a brief confusion for everyone present. "Everyone, all squat down!" Zhang Lan yelled. First, she swept down all the cultists who were executing normal people with a shuttle of a semi-automatic rifle, and then looked at the scene at the very center. Normal people looked at the people who rushed out. Zhang Ran had hope of salvation, and all squatted down honestly and stopped moving. The cultists didn't care about being obedient, and screamed and scattered, and rushed in all directions. In this case, the special team has the right to fire voluntarily without worrying about the consequences. Suddenly, the gunshots representing death sounded, and the continuous flames spewed out on the cultists, blooming blood-colored flowers. As if cutting wheat, rows of cultists fell down. Modern thermal weapons cast by condensing human wisdom may have limited effects on mythological creatures and containment objects, but ordinary people cannot resist it. Under the altar, Kay put away the abominable statue on the high platform for the first time, never expecting his whereabouts to be exposed. These people in the Foundation definitely didn't know about it temporarily, otherwise it would be impossible to prepare so comprehensively. It would directly be an encirclement without flaws. After scanning, all the surrounding scenes were in his mind. Kay immediately understood that it would take a lot of effort to escape today. The main reason is that some cultists squatted down in fear of death, and it was a little troublesome to take advantage of the chaos to leave because of the huge number of impacts. He retreated to the side of the high platform and looked down at SCP-953, which was hiding behind many cultists. Although she has supernatural powers, she is actually very fragile, and ordinary firearms can kill her. The reason why nothing has happened so far is just because she is not highly dangerous and she is always taken into custody. The Research Institute wants to study the reality-distorting characteristics of her who is not strong enough. If you really want to kill her, you only need to deploy a sniper and kill her from a kilometer away. SCP-953 didn't want to be caught up and treated like a guinea pig, and asked, "What do we do now?" You control the quiet people to riot and disturb the scene, and by the way use this to control the people of the Foundation. Kay calmly said the way. SCP-953 is the intelligence of reality benders. The Dragon Kingdom should not be very clear. Every kind of containment is a secret of its own country. Human beings are always good at infighting, and before a world-destroying disaster occurs, they will think of overwhelming others. Unless it has been exposed and can no longer be concealed, it is usually not clear how many containment objects other countries have in their foundations, let alone the capabilities they possess. To a certain extent, the containment can be regarded as one of the national heritage, which is similar to nuclear weapons. As a last resort, nuclear weapons cannot be used, and containment items can be used within a certain range. Besides, K is not just a whole card of SCP-953, even if the opponent knows the problem is not big. He stared at the scene that seemed to be gradually controlled, and he spoke softly. If the place was placed on the beach, he could easily summon a large number of deep divers. It's a pity that this is a mountainous region, and there is no way to summon the same kind to rescue. Good. With its backbone, SCP-953 immediately followed his orders, staring at the crowd with its twinkling eyes in the dark. In an instant, the cultists who were about to suppress themselves violently again. Their eyes were filled with blank expressions, only knowing that they rushed towards the special team, not afraid of life or death. There was a sudden violence nearby, so that part of the special team guarding around had no time to react, and dozens of people were taken down. At the same time, several other members of the special team were under control, firing frantically at the diseases of their colleagues around them. In an instant, more than 20 people were killed or injured. Perceiving something wrong, the others immediately control the hypnotized companion. Although it is not clear about SCP-953's specific abilities, she can be seen from the outside. Seeing this, Xia Ruobing immediately turned his attention to the nine-tailed fox girl and took out a pistol to shoot. SCP-953 was taken aback by this. Fortunately, the cultists in front of it took the initiative to block in front, using their bodies to block the bullets. Others also found out that she was playing a ghost, all the firepower was transferred, and it seemed that she was going to completely kill her. Feeling unbearable, SCP-953 stepped back a few steps, gritted his teeth and looked at K boasting in the Serpent's Hand organization. But he found him hiding behind the high platform, chanting something, and reached out to touch the person under the high platform. Goodly good, knowing that both sides are grasshoppers on the same rope, no one can escape. The nine-tailed fox girl continued to use telepathy and hypnosis to stir up riots, but her ability was only moderate after all, and she was really unable to control thousands of people. Including the distances too far, beyond a certain distance, it is not easy to invade other people's thinking. Xia Ruobing seemed to be keenly aware of this from her actions, and immediately told everyone not to get too close, but to use firepower to suppress it. Firearms cannot deal with mythological creatures, but they are still fierce when dealing with humans. These thoughts are contaminated, and the cultists who are controlled by hypnosis are not sorry to die, even if the problem is not serious, at most they will be punished not lightly or not seriously. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 78. One by one cultists fell in the bullet storm, and their bodies were beaten into a sieve. It's just that K and the nine-tailed fox girl hiding behind the high platform can't find a way to catch them for the time being. Once close, it is easy to be controlled by hypnosis. The group of people didn't carry the telekinesis alloy, who knew that a reality bender could pop out. This type of containment is very rare, and the entire world adds up to less than 10 fingers. Fortunately, there are restraints on this trip. Xia Ruobing looked back, and it was now SCP-073's turn to appear. He can be regarded as the first line of insurance, because of its own particularity, many methods are invalid for it. People who know the Snake Hand organization carry several containment items, so they can't just come over and give them for nothing without any means. Thank you. Xia Ruobing nodded to the dark man 20 meters away from the people present. Xia Ruobing finally mentioned the request. Although she carried the containment items, she didn't want to use it unless it was necessary. This was counted in the cooperative project. Every time you use 353, you have to pay a certain price, otherwise, why do others help you? Leave it to me. SCP-073 replied, pressing the gentleman's hat on his head with his hand, and the brim of the hat covered the Sumerian cultural symbol on his forehead. This is considered a weakness, and as long as others mention it, he will be in pain. Slowly stepped closer to the high platform from under the cover of fire, and SCP-073 road was unobstructed. Soon, he appeared in the field of view of K and SCP-953. Hello. The moment I saw each other, SCP-953 wanted to hypnotize control, but it didn't work. Any direct or indirect damage to SCP-073 is completely useless. The Foundation has attempted to obtain blood and tissue samples from the subject, but these actions have all failed. And the damage will eventually be fed back to the perpetrator itself, and SCP-073 will not be physically harmed. For example, if you want to cut off the opponent's hand, the result will only be your hand. SCP-073 can only feel the same pain. Hypnosis control is not considered a physical injury, but it is still ineffective to SCP-073. The nine-tailed fox girl was stunned for a moment. The first loss of her ability seemed to hit her a bit hard. Madam and sir, I don't want to use violence, can you please come out honestly? The dark-skinned man codenamed Kane showed a smile with a metal body glowing with cold light. Compared to SCP-953's bewildered expression, K was not shocked, but a weird smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. It's lucky. I didn't expect it to be you. He really didn't expect that he would bump into SCP-073, and he wanted to hesitate whether to take people away safely or stay and fight for a wave of thoughts. Kane didn't understand the meaning of this priest who looked leaning toward the deep diver in front of him, and was just about to step into the shadow of the high platform. Suddenly, with his arrival, the yellow and dry high platform directly exploded, and a sarcophagus was poured out from it. Boom! The sarcophagus fell violently and lay between the two, raising a cloud of dust. The coffin looks very simple, without any decorations or patterns, but it gives Kane a not-so-good, I-fi, feeling. Bang! Bang! There was the sound of something hitting the sarcophagus. A second later, the wooden lid covering the coffin body was directly opened violently, revealing the concrete scene inside. That is. After seeing it clearly, Kane narrowed his eyes slightly. In sight, a lean man was lying there, about 30 years old. He has black hair, grey eyes, and olive skin. He is nearly 10 centimeters taller than the 1.85 meter tall man. There are a large number of tattoos depicting obscure and mysterious images on the whole body of men. Most of them constitute the face of the evil demon who looks at it. The types vary from subtle to exaggerated. Kay said in a low tone, "Mr. Abel, this one will be left to you." As soon as the voice fell, he put his hands on both sides of the coffin body, and the man with his eyes open stood up and spoke directly to Kane. How could SCP-076-2, codenamed Abel, appear here? Kane's thoughts turned sharply, and he didn't expect that one of the shelters was actually this existence that had a lot of connection with him. In the Bible, the original sons of Adam and Eve are called Cain and Abel. The Foundation once guessed whether Cain was the one in the legendary Bible, because the traits are similar to the legend. In the Bible, Cain killed his brother Abel, and was punished by God Yahweh, cursing him to be wandering on the ground. Cain was afraid of this, so he said to Yahweh, "My punishment is too heavy, now you drive me out of this place, so that you don't see you, I will drift away on the ground, and whoever encounters me will kill me." Yahweh said, "It will never be like this. Everyone who kills Cain will be reported 7 times. However, unlike Cain who represents guilt as described in the Bible, or even completely opposite, Cain who is taken by the Foundation is honest and kind, unwilling to hurt others. Is it because he is hiding something, or the Bible records are wrong? No one knows the answer. At the same time, Abel is also different from the Bible. Foundation materials are recorded, and the representative number is SCP-076. It is divided into 2 pieces, SCP-076-1, and SCP-076-2. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 79. The location of the first discovery is unknown. It is only known that SCP-076-1 is a 3-meter-long cube formed from black speckled metamorphic rock, with deeply carved patterns that do not correspond to known civilizations. In the center of the inner space is a sarcophagus that is over 2 meters away. It is fixed and sealed by several chains of unknown craftsmanship and material structure. An SCP-076-2 is lying in the sarcophagus existence. He would wake up occasionally and kill the humans he saw and sensed. After contacting the surviving humans, Abel will immediately enter a violent state, and will try to fight any humans he comes into contact with before killing them. Only the death of the subject can effectively end his violent behavior. After SCP-076 was found and subdued in the Middle East at that time, it was intercepted by a mysterious organization during the transportation to the country where it belonged, and its whereabouts were later unknown. I didn't expect to be here in the hands of the snake. Kane frowned, always feeling that today's things are not so easy to solve. From the outside, the sarcophagus in front of me is not SCP-076-1, and the Serpent's Hand organization does not know what means it used to transfer SCP-076-2 here. I have to say that their behavior is very cautious and powerful. Even if there is an accident, Abel died outside and will eventually resurrect inside SCP-076-1, repeating itself again and again. As long as the basic sarcophagus is in hand, it doesn't matter how many times Abel died. Before Kane could think of a way, Abel had already taken action. In a daze, seeing so many humans outside, he first ignored Kane who was in front of him, jumped out of the sarcophagus, and headed straight for the Foundation special team that gradually stopped shooting outside the high platform. Its speed is extremely fast, reaching a speed of 20 meters per second. Xia Ruobing and the others only saw a black shadow emerging from the back of the high platform, a flower in front of them. In just a few seconds, a thin man full of demonic patterns appeared in front of them. Be careful. That's SCP-076-2. At this time, the voice that belonged to Kane was slowly conveyed. What? Xia Ruobing's heart was shocked, and there was actually a second containment item. I saw that Abel rushed into the squad like a tiger into the flock. With superhuman strength and speed, he quickly hunted down the squad members. Because the speed was too fast, he couldn't lock his position at all. The last moment was still in front of him, and the next second he was already 20 meters away. The most unusual thing is that he was empty-handed, but when he started the killing, a weapon with a knife appeared out of thin air in his hand. It is made of a completely non-reflective black material, and it looks like an emptiness and black space. If you use the video to show it in slow motion, you will find that the weapon is actually pulled out from a tiny gap in space. Abel, who had just awakened from a trance, relied on his instinct to slay the members of the Foundation with his long blade. Many team members were worried that shooting indiscriminately would injure their teammates. Although hundreds of people were apparently forced by one person, they were helpless. More than a dozen people have been killed in the flashlight. The chaos caused here can no longer suppress SCP-953 and K. The nine-tailed fox girl just wanted to continue to take advantage of the chaos to control the members of the Foundation, but was interrupted by Kane. Can't stop Abel, can't it stop you? Without hypnosis and telepathy, most of SCP-953 is useless. K doesn't want to be involved in the battle between the containment objects. He takes a few steps back rationally. Everyone, disperse. Xia Ruobing ordered Zhang Shenzi anxiously. It is hoped that this will open up the phalanx front and expand the scope of Abel's operations. She couldn't grasp the exact target of the enemy, and she moved too fast, so she could only predict by her feelings. There is a short pause at the moment when Abel is predicted to kill, and then he shoots. Perhaps it was luck that this shot actually hit. But the result was not satisfactory, and a bloodbath bursting out of Abel's chest could be vaguely seen. As if not feeling the pain, the other party is still reaping his life ruthlessly. 0. Look for flowers. It shows an extraordinary ability to ignore pain and blows, and is able to persevere after suffering injuries that can make ordinary people weak. After sighing, Xia Ruobing knew that it might be difficult to stop SCP-076-2 by himself and a group of people, and immediately took out 3 evil statues from his backpack. According to the instructions of the Ministry of Zhongjianwu, this is the second insurance. If the narrative is useful, even if the test results are used. The words flashed in her mind, and when the statue was in her hand, 3 summoning spells suddenly appeared in her mind. First, holding the statue that looked like a terrestrial octopus, Xia Ruobing hesitated a little, mainly because its appearance was somewhat similar to the statue enshrined by the enemy. In case of an accident when summoned, putting the terrestrial octopus statue back into the backpack, she held a large group of monster statues with hoofs underneath, like a tree diagram. Before preparing to chant the mantra, she fought hard and shouted, "Everyone! Retreat!" No one questioned the order, and the Foundation members who were not entangled by Abel immediately evacuated towards the rear. Seeing this scene, more people suffered casualties. Xia Ruobing chanted and summoned the body of this mythical creature. Originally, a beast had to be sacrificed in accordance with the formal ritual of summoning spells. The caster also needs a knife to perform a specific ritual slaughter when killing the target. In addition, the ritual can only be performed in the depths of the darkest woodland on the moon, and the victim must die on the stone altar. After such cumbersome steps, the summoned creatures will replace the gods they believe in, accept the sacrificiality and worship of the caster, and swallow all existence except the caster, and spread their belief in gods all over the world. But all this is simplified with the help of the statue, and there is no need for such complicated rituals. You only need to hold the statue in your hand and recite the spell with magical power, and the summoned being will respond to the caster. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 80. Please hurry up. Watching his colleague harvest as fragile as straw under SCP-076-2, Xia Ruobing gritted his teeth and carried out a spell to liberate. A series of spells is not difficult, even if they don't understand the meaning, the holder can clearly reveal those weird and terrifying syllables. If the process of summoning is likened to opening a door, then the statue is an electronic lock, and the mantra is a code. If the code is correct, the lock will open, thus pushing the door open and summoning the creatures inside. No matter who opens the door, the important thing is the password. From the sources of darkness to the abyss of the stars, from the abyss of the stars to the sources of darkness, it will always be praise to the great Thulhu, praise to Satagwa, and to the unspeakable name of him. Compliments. 353 is always a compliment to them, full of the black goat of the forest. Magna Mater. Ah! Gofnhupachubnagurath. The goat that has bred thousands of offspring. The speed of singing was like a high-speed god, Xia Ruobing chanted, and found that the black sky was inexplicably less pitch black, the outline of the moon could be faintly revealed in the clouds, and the brilliance of the crescent moon could hardly fall through the dark clouds to the top of the mountain. Ge ran, the wind is blowing. In the darkest part of the dense forest, the shadows there are creeping and forming, as if some creatures are preparing to emerge from there. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds passed. In the shadows, something is coming across an endless distance. In the squirming deep darkness, a few squirming tentacles protruded first. Then, under Xia Ruobing's shocked expression, its whole quickly descended from the ink-like shadow. In a short time, a horrible giant that is only 6 meters high appeared here, crushed through the dense forest, and came towards the high platform full of rituals. What a terrible thing it is! Its body is a huge mass with black whip-like tentacles growing on the mass. There was a huge mouth open around the mass, and green mucus was dripping continuously from the mouth. It has a huge goat-shaped hoof at the bottom of its body, which allows it to stand. The overall outline of the body is like a tree, the stubby feet are the trunk, and the body full of tentacles is the canopy. At the same time as it approached, there was a stench from its body as if it had been excavated. Xia Ruobing could see clearly, a large number of tentacles stretched out from its trunk-like body. These tentacles curled up, dripping with viscous liquid, covering its flanks. On the other hand, she always feels uncomfortable when she sees mythical creatures, as if something is imperceptibly stuffed into her head. This time, I didn't feel that way. Staring at the ugly mythical creature named Black Goat Cub was a little bit physiologically uncomfortable, but it was limited to this. Is it related to the statue? Looking at how dry his hands were, Xia Ruobing guessed that a cracked statue appeared. This statue is not like Luo Qingqing used it for the first time, it shatters when used up. Estimated at the rate of decline, it may be possible to persist once or twice. This gain is not small, she retracted her thoughts, and she focused on the mythical creatures she had never seen before. Now, it is time to verify its strength. In the empty space, Abel happened to kill a member of the Foundation and was about to move the target to the next one. The sudden vibration of the earth made him look to the side instinctively, and the daunting monster came into view. But unlike humans, he doesn't have much feeling for the image of the 6-meter-high monster. Seeing the monster attack, his brows were slightly invisible, and Abel wanted to avoid an attack that was far more terrifying than crashing into a tank at high speed. But don't look at the huge size of the black goat cubs, their movements are unexpectedly agile. Seeing the prey avoiding, the messy sticky tentacles like branches, one after another waved towards Abel at a speed that ordinary people could not respond. The power it carries can be seen only by the sharp whistling sound from the air being cut. Boom! 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 Among them, 4 particularly strong tentacles smashed into the ground and made a dull and loud noise. When the dust dispersed, 4 deep pits over a full half-meter appeared. If this is hit, I'm afraid Abel will be smashed to pieces. Knowing that the monster's goal is himself, Abel, who bathed in blood and fell into a violent stance, changed his dodge attitude and took the initiative to attack it. Nearly 2 meters tall, he holds the pitch-black blade, and it is difficult to avoid the airtight tentacles. The attack range of these tentacles is 10 meters away, and they are flexible, making it very difficult for Abel to attack. Getting close to it first is a big problem. Even cutting off a few secondary tentacles is of little importance to the black goat cub. Fortunately, Abel is a melee expert, and using a melee weapon to hit him directly can cause damage to it. You must know that the body of the black goat cub is not made of materials on the earth, and the effect of firearms on them is too low. In addition, all injuries or attacks related to heat, explosion, corrosion, electricity, and poison are also invalid. It may not be able to solve the enemy for a long time, and the black goat cubs neighed from the countless huge mouths. When Abel found a chance to get close to its body, he raised his hoof suddenly, and then fell heavily. In an instant, the earth roared. When trampled, a violent wave spread to the surroundings centered on it. Abel was in a single room and lost his ability to move for a short time when he was shaken by an attack that seemed to be trampled on by a war. The black goat cub won't be in a daze at this time, 4 thick tentacles swept Abel directly, entangled him tightly. When the dizziness ended, Abel found that he was less than 1 meter away from the monster's mouth. 5.8 After a short confrontation or even less than half a minute, he was directly defeated. This monster is so terrible that it is beyond words. I heard my bones crunching all over, but fortunately there was no pain. Abel smelled the stench, his mouth was covered with green mucus, and his brows were deeply furrowed. Even if he can hit bullets with steel pipes and has great power, he can't last a minute under the black goat cubs. The two sides are not at the same magnitude at all. Abel, who was able to survive for several minutes even with a bullet into the head until he was stuffed into his mouth by the thick tentacles, was directly bitten off in the corrosive huge mouth. Its lower body fell to the ground and was rapidly decomposing into dust at a speed visible to the naked eye. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 81. Is this the end? Xia Ruobing didn't react for a while, it was too fast. In her thoughts, there is a high probability that the two sides will have to get involved with each other for a while, and then it will be difficult to win, or half a caddy. But reality is always beyond imagination. Of course, this is also related to the huge gap between the black goat cubs and many mythological creatures. As the supreme mother god, goddess of dark abundance Rang, black goat of the forest that breeds thousands of children, the existence conceived by Sabu Nicholas. They are sparse and extremely rare. Generally, it is only to accept sacrifices on behalf of the mother god, while spreading the belief of the mother god on the earth. And for some other mythical races, the race value is not exaggerated. In addition to its strong racial value, each black goat cub knows 6 to 8 kinds of spells. In the process of killing Abel, it didn't even use a spell, but only used trampling like a talented skill. Seeing that the target enemy disappeared, the black goat cub quickly turned its attention to other people. 08. For example, the members of the Foundation who retreated to the top of the mountain pass, and several people who belonged to the Snake Hand organization after the high platform. As the owner who summoned it, Xia Ruobing couldn't control it. Unless it possesses the Black Goat Cub domination spell, it will not harm the caster at most, and all others present will be included in the attack category. The only fortunate thing is that its first target is on the high platform, probably because it's a little familiar. From the taste of the Great Thulhu. Directly flatten the high platform with a few tentacles, and the black goat cub was staring at the people behind with the eyes hidden in the meat. SCP-953 Nine-Tailed Fox Girl, SCP-073 Cain and K of the Serpent's Hand Organization. The three of them turned their heads at the same time and looked at the 6-meter-high monster. Feeling an invisible breath representing crazy will swept across, Cain reached out and held his forehead, and walked a few steps aside silently. SCP-953 was full of excitement. Seeing that the monster was mainly looking at K, she roughly distinguished the form and decided to find a chance to escape. As for coexisting and dying with the Serpent's Hand, she is not a diehard, but a cooperative relationship. She can run or run. Different from the illusion that their heads are full, K, who is already a mixed deep dive, feels nothing, just staring at the black goat cub. How is it possible? Why can you summon it? He muttered to himself incredulously. Under the shadow of the huge monster, K raised his head and glared at the evil existence that represented the will of the outer god with almost crazy bulging eyes. Countless snarling giant mouths roared with words that humans could not discern, and the black goat cubs did not hesitate to pat forward with their tentacles. Of course K will not sit and wait for death, there is already a drawn circle under his feet for some time. At the moment when the tentacles hit, he immediately used 4 enchanted opals to strengthen the ritual under his feet, so that each piece corresponds to a basic direction on the compass. Among the electric light and flint, a huge circle shining brightly. When the tentacle touched the magic circle, there was a short pause, and then it bounced back at a faster speed. The black goat cub seemed to be unwell for a moment and roared in anger. Standing in the protective circle, K grinned, exposing Bai Sensen's sharp teeth. Although he resisted the attack, he was uncomfortable. The protected magic circle draws a large amount of magic power at one time, and the brain is directly emptied, and it takes a while to recover. Now that there was a smelly barrier to resist for a while, he urgently thought about how to escape, and looked up. The only person around him was SCP-953. Unlike the Lucky K, the Nine-Tailed Fox Girl and Cain were directly swept away by another tentacle. Cain was okay, only feeling severe pain. He flew to the ground and rolled out more than 10 meters away. When he got up, he held on to his hat and took a breath. Is this thing not the enemy of mine? However, SCP-953 is much more miserable. and the seductive body transforms into a beautiful parabola, and with the spewing blood and screams, it falls into the dense forest. Kay just wanted to ask her to help herself, but found that this guy was suffering from severe pain and became the main body when he took advantage of the force to fly out. Inside this BD. K's face was pale. If SCP-953 gets involved, he might still have a way to summon the mythical creatures lurking in the heart of the earth and escape from the ground. But without help, wanting to escape again is tantamount to a fantasy. Feeling the black goat cubs bombarding the magic circle again and again, the stench barrier has been shaky, Kay trembling uncomfortably. The mission has not been completed. How can I fail here? No matter how unwilling he was, it was useless. The black goat cub slammed into the circle again and again. Originally, this thing could make the attacker nauseous and retching. When it was placed on the black goat, there was almost no obvious change. Standing in the distance, Xia Ruobing saw this scene and immediately ordered the others to hunt down SCP-953 who had escaped in the mountains and forests, and tried not to let her go. When the Order 353 was issued, she understood that this possibility might be very small. I didn't suppress it for the first time, and it was too difficult to rely on ordinary troops to catch reality benders with hypnotic capabilities. Moreover, SCP-953 is not very threatening. Compared with the people of the Serpent's Hand organization, of course, you must first ensure that K is killed or successfully captured. For this moment, the Foundation gave up 2 opportunities to be surrounded by the sea. I'm afraid that the other party will summon an army of deep dives, and there will be an accident. Until the moment when the mysterious magic circle broke, Xia Ruobing clenched his fists hard and finally succeeded. In order to keep K alive and interrogate him for information about the Serpent's Hand organization, Xia Ruobing hurriedly used the second spell in his mind. Black Goat Cub Expelling Technique. The statue contains a total of 2 spells, Summoning and Expulsion. If there is no expelling method, what should I do if I summon someone to stop? It seems that the mysterious boss is very thoughtful, and the package is delivered. Thanks to this, K left his life. When he was dying by being entangled in the tentacles and sucking the vitality, he suddenly found that the mythical creature in front of him was gradually becoming blurred. Until it disappeared completely, only a puddle of green slime and a tragic scene that seemed to be blown by a tornado were left. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 82. Western Australia. Night City. Did something happen to K2? The leader of the Serpent's Hand organization watched the SCP-076-1 placed in the containment area suddenly and automatically blocked it, with a strange chain entangled on it, and the outer door was closed tightly. This change only means one thing. SCP-076-2 is dead. Otherwise, SCP-076-1 will not change for no reason, but K's death message has not been sent. The leader of Snake's Hand was slightly speechless. They told him to change the place for the ceremony as soon as possible, but he was planted unexpectedly. I really don't listen to persuasion. Although K's specific information has not yet come, it is not necessarily an accident, his guess is inclined to this. Fortunately, the task progress has reached 90%. The Dragon Kingdom has temporarily given up, so that the members of Europe and the United States will be more tired. The life and death of the members is not within his consideration, just as dead. The only pity is the loss of 2 containment objects and a flute that can summon deep divers. As for the dead SCP-076-2, he himself will automatically resurrect from SCP-076-1 within a certain period of time, and he will be released again at that time. I patted the 3-meter-high cube sarcophagus, and the leader of the Serpent's Hand stepped into the dark passage leading to the inner side. It's terrible. It's terrible. Between the mountains and forests, a red fox weighing only about 8 kilograms moves dexterously through the darkness. If you listen carefully, you can hear human voices from the humming. The 9 fluffy tails behind it made it look full of inexplicable charm, but unfortunately because it ran away in embarrassment, the beautiful fur was stained with dust. When it was approaching the bottom of the mountain, it suddenly stopped running desperately, poked its head out of the forest, and looked at the many soldiers squatting on the periphery. Dozens of soldiers are on guard, one at every interval, which can be described as heavily guarded. SCP-953 was an accident, worried that members of the Foundation team would catch up, and decided to take the risk. With the help of its own animal characteristics, it walks directly out of the forest. As long as it crosses 100 meters and enters the dense forest behind, these people will never catch up with itself. Already scared by the black goat cub, it first charged up, and then ran at full speed. What slash? The soldiers wearing night vision goggles noticed movement in the dense forest, and a figure that looked like an arrow from the string quickly rushed towards them. Xia Ruobing had told him in advance that he didn't need to ask if he saw anything rushing down. Before the soldiers could see that it was a fox, they all aimed at it and pulled the trigger without any hesitation. In the bullet storm, SCP-953 had no time to escape, gritted its teeth and rushed towards the soldiers while using hypnosis and telepathy to disturb them. If you rush over, nothing will happen. If you stay behind, everything will happen. How to choose is simple and clear. The goddess of luck may prefer it today. In such a fierce bombing forest, it only hit 2 bullets. Then he rushed out of the soldiers' defense line and sniffed into the outer dense forest. A few breaths ran without a trace, leaving only a pool of intermittent blood. Enduring the pain in the flanks and right foot, SCP-953 ran down the mountain to the side of the road. It happened to encounter a loading vehicle. It didn't want to jump directly into the rear compartment, and then slowly got in through the gap. After entering, I discovered that there were many packages inside. Feeling like a courier truck, SCP-953 first casually tore open the innermost package, and took a silk handkerchief from it to wrap up the wound on its body. After doing all this, the brain is already groggy, and it has suffered too many shocks and injuries today. Even under the torment of pain, it feels a little tired and sleepy. Before going to bed, SCP-953 got into a relatively large package, and SCP-953 slowly got down, closing the frightened eyes. Above the top of the mountain, holding the statue that was nearly half split, Xia Ruobing came to K, one of the important cadres of the Dying Snake Hand organization. Taking off the cloak, the face that was transforming into the deep diver came into view, and everyone looked away with disgust. Kane and Xia Ruobing were the only ones staring at the man who was lying on the ground without any strength. His whole bones were almost broken, and it was a luxury to stand up. Li Kai, take him up and send him back to the Magic Capital Foundation branch. Xia Ruobing rubbed his brows and ordered. Good, Li is good, yes. Seeing that K was taken away, everything has been done here. Xia Ruobing Fang carefully placed the statue, for fear of falling apart because of his rough actions. Today's mission is not a complete one. Most of the cultists died, and fewer than 1 in 12 survivors, including those unlucky normal villagers. No way, being involved in an abnormal event has a terrible low survival rate. Every time they went on a mission, Xia Ruobing and the others all had the idea of dying well. It can really solve the problem perfectly without damage, unless it is safe-level containment objects that are docile and friendly to humans. For example, SCP-073, there are some non-living containment items without intelligence. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 83. According to the weather forecast, the weather today seems to be sunny all day. In the cafe in the suburbs of Magic City, unlike the past, lying on the sofa and reading, Wang Li squinted his eyes and leaned against the glass window, enjoying the warm sunshine. On his chest was the Book of Decian that had been turned 1/3, and he had nothing to say about chatting with Lilith. Does the master want to go for a walk? The blonde maid asked eagerly. I lived in a monastery since I was a child, and later awakened to a special physique and bloodline. She kept shrinking in one place and couldn't move. Lilith occasionally gave birth to the idea of going for a walk. Wang Li lazily said, I don't want to move. Oh. Slightly disappointed with her mouth bulging, Lilith took out SCP-427 from the slender neck and fiddled with the cover of her pocket watch boredly. Quietly enjoying the feeling of sunshine and wine on his body, Wang Li lifted up the Book of Decian again, and then browsed the place where he saw it last time. Listen, son of the earth, listen to the voice of your teacher, the son of the stars. You have to learn that there is neither height nor depth here, everything melts into one, the sons of the mother of darkness fill the universe, and great wars are fought inside and outside them. This war will determine the fate of the universe, and the seeds of the gods will appear everywhere, and come again. Slowly read it word by word. The words in the book do not belong to the existing Earth language, but the Central language of Atlantis. It is said that this book was written by the Atlanteans and is called the oldest book in the world. Whether it is like this, Wang Li can't be sure, but the contents recorded in it are quite interesting. The content is about the history of prehistoric civilizations such as Atlantis, Cyberl, Remulia, and Lomar. It outlines the many universes that are connected to each other, as well as the hierarchy of the universe. For example, the worlds are ruled by the sun gods who serve the angelic spirits. Another point, I-Fi, is very interesting. In this book, lower species can be elevated to a higher level through metaphysical evolution. Having read too many mysterious books, Wang Li discovered that different civilizations have different opinions about whether those changes are pollution or evolution. The civilization of the ancient times believed that this was the evolution towards immortality and eternal life. However, modern people feel that it belongs to pollution and become no longer a human being and become another race. He doesn't say whether he is right or wrong, but from the perspective of the higher level of life, the mythical races in the book, no matter what kind, are much stronger than the height of human beings. Turning a page from time to time, Wang Li yawned less than 10 pages. The sun will always be like this, and you will get sleepy when you are in the sun. Obviously, I should be full every day. I just turned my wrist, and the mobile phone placed on the table suddenly vibrated. The caller is Zhang Jianyu. Wang Li wondered the purpose of his call, reached out and pressed the connect button, then turned on the hands-free. Hello. Hello, Mr. Wang. The steady voice of the middle-aged man last time came from the phone. Wait, stop calling me like that. I wanted to say it last time. It feels weird. Wang Li doesn't like this title very much. The other side paused, and tentatively said, then the manager. Yes, this is barely acceptable. Although I didn't know that Wang Li would be entangled in the title question, Zhang Jianyu quickly put this episode behind him. I called this time to thank the store manager. The statue you gave me helped me a lot. Wang Li's lack of interest, and then. Unless the other party is willing to trade again, it is really uninteresting. Zhang Jianyu seemed to be organizing the language, and after a while, he solemnly said, therefore, we attach great importance to the cooperation with the store manager and decided to invite our Foundation branch to visit as a show of sincerity, real or fake. If you want to say this, I won't be sleepy. Wang Li lifted his spirits and asked, when? It depends on your time, it can be here anytime. Can it work today? No problem. Zhang Jianyu determined the time specifically, and Wang Li quickly got up to pack himself. Lilith looked at the strangely behaving boss, inexplicably in a good mood, and asked suspiciously, Master, what's the matter? It's okay, I'm going to the Foundation branch to play later, please stay and watch the house. The lovely maid obediently responded, muttering in her heart that the master really has a close relationship with the Foundation. The negotiated time is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and there is still an hour and a half from that time, and the other party must always prepare. Wang Li expressed his understanding, and he also understood that it is impossible for the Foundation to reveal to him containment objects that are too core. Even so, it is enough, just like a foreigner who likes animals but has never seen a giant panda. Suddenly I heard that I can get in close, so I didn't take off right there? This is the mentality that Wang Li holds today. When the person from the Foundation came to pick him up, Wang Li, who was about to step out of the store, seemed to have just remembered something, and turned to remind Lilith, who was watching a movie at the bar. By the way, Lilith, the courier I bought before has arrived today, so remember to sign for it when that time comes. I see. After getting an accurate answer, Wang Li walked towards the black car at the intersection with confidence. That's the person who picked him up from the Foundation. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 84. Hello, I am now responsible for taking you to the Foundation branch. Standing at the intersection was a young woman about 23 or 4 years old. When he saw Wang Li approaching, he took the initiative to take a few steps forward, showing a cordial smile. She is a person specially used by the Foundation to be responsible for foreign affairs. She has no special ability, but she is very good at mastering the psychology and how to make others feel comfortable. The Foundation attaches great importance to Wang Li, and does not hope to have misunderstandings or unpleasant things with him. Let's go. Nodding calmly, Wang Li naturally sat in the back row when the opponent took the initiative to open the door. Then the young women got into the co-pilot. Some people don't like having other people next to her, which is very good for her to avoid accidents. Seeing the driver start the car directly, Wang Li raised his eyebrows and teased, "You don't need to cover your eyes when you get to your place, what?" The young woman smiled, "Of course not." It was not close to the Foundation from the outskirts of the Magic City, and it took about an hour to reach the destination. Halfway women have been looking for topics, telling some interesting things that are not important to the Foundation. Later, it was discovered that he was most interested in the contents, so Mountain Yu slowly increased the topic of the contents. When talking about matters of interest to him, Wang Li can ask a few words from time to time. So, reach the branch of the Magic Capital Foundation. After getting out of the car, he saw Zhang Jianyu for the first time. This middle-aged man who had a relationship has been waiting outside the foundation not only to show his solemnity, but also to solve some complicated procedures in advance. Someone led, Wang Li easily followed into the interior. The first point of view is the many buildings that resemble factories on the ground. The furnishings are relatively simple, like a place where they live together. He guessed that it should be the residence of the soldiers. Passing through the factory building, Wang Li, accompanied by only a few people, walked into the interior along the passage where the mountain appeared. As he moved forward, Zhang Jianyu said, "If it weren't for your statue this time, it might really have failed the mission." Thinking of Xia Ruobing's report, he couldn't help but sigh. Who knew that the snake-hand Gemini actually had 3 containment items? They also have terrible knowledge of mythology. If they were not assigned to a special team on a whim to test the limits of the statue, the result might be different. You should be able to deal with it even without me, needless to say. Wang Li was not touted to lose his mind. The foundation of the foundation is definitely not low. If you really want to solve the cauders of the 2 snake-hand organizations, how can they really be helpless? The foundation doesn't know how many terrifying things it has contained, perhaps even they themselves don't know it very well. There is no way to test the nature and deeper strength of some contained items. The difference is whether you think about it or not, and what you give is not proportional to what you get. For example, the result of eliminating the snake-hand Gemini is 1, but it will cost 10 times the price, and the foundation will naturally hesitate. Compared with the cost of using mythological creatures, the risks of the 2 are almost not at the same level. This is also one of the reasons why the Foundation hopes to understand the occult knowledge. In that case, not only can it contain anomalies more efficiently, but it can also get rid of a lot of risks. Although Professor Mo told everyone that perhaps he had explored too much knowledge from the abyss, the final price would be greater than the use of containment objects. Zhang Jianyu smiled, did not make excuses, but led him to the basement site. Most of this layer contains less dangerous items. They are not necessarily safe, but they will basically not harm others. There are several levels of Foundation containment. Safe, easy and safe containment, Euclid, not always reliable containment, Keter, extremely difficult to contain continuously, Thaumiel, used to resist anomalous anomalies, and finally neutralization, that is, neutralized that does not need to be managed anymore. 0. Look for flowers. Describe it in a simple and easy to understand way. If you close it in a box, don't care about the box, as long as you can close it, nothing will happen, it is safe. If you close it in a box and don't know what will happen, it is Euclid. If it can run out by itself, it is Keter. If it is the box that closes the SCP item, it is Thaumiel. This is not a classification of danger levels, but a classification of the ease of containment. Wang Li has a preliminary understanding of this. Needless to say, all of this understanding comes from Luo Qingqing. As soon as I entered the passageway of the site, I saw a pair of small tear-shaped things whizzing past the front. That's SCP-131? It's really cute. After accompanying Wang Li to enter the interior thoroughly, Zhang Jianyu did not stay for long. It is estimated that he knew the purpose of the other parties coming here, mainly to observe the contents. After leaving the young women who received Wang Li to give orders at any time, he left. I hope you can be happy, this is the basis of our sincerity of cooperation. As a secondary person in charge, Zhang Jianyu has a lot to do. Although it is important to accompany Wang Li, it seems that the other party is not interested in him at all. People who know interest will not annoy life for no reason, Zhang Jianyu is just such a person. Xiang Pei, the female secretary of the Foreign Affairs Agency, said that after handing everything over to her, he quietly retreated, acting vigorously. Wang Li doesn't care if someone is accompanying him, anyway, for this purpose as a containment object, no one is free to follow suit, but it fits his mind. Dispelling the others, leaving the female secretary alone, Wang Li first walked quickly towards the containment area. I will trouble you to be a guide today. The female secretary who served as both a receptionist and a guide smiled slightly, it's a great honor. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 85. Next, Wang Li was an eye-opener, like a dragon entering a treasure house of gold. Knowing where you can bring him is certainly not particularly classified, so you can feel relieved to visit. Just go wherever you want. If there are restrictions, the intellectual Oni-san around you will definitely inform you. Others didn't care. Everyone in the Foundation has their own things to do. Unless necessary, they generally don't pay attention to what others are doing. This is the first area of the Foundation's containment. Wang Li took the lead towards the containment area and asked the special guide he was following along the way. Yes, the containment objects here are more docile, or less threatening. Xianya lowered her sense of existence, and only answered when the other party asked. With a clear distinction, she can stay where she is now. The so-called containment area is actually a display like a prison. Wang Li raised his eyes and saw that there were more than a dozen 10x10 square huts made of unknown materials in front of them. Raggedly located on the basement floor, not too far apart from each other. When he came to the first house, he turned his head and asked, "Can I take a closer look?" "Can." Getting an affirmative answer, Wang Li approached the door marked SCP-1160 and looked inside. I found that the inside was actually a bird. It's about 25 centimeters in size, and it's fluttering back and forth in the room. It looks familiar, as if I've seen it somewhere. This is also a containment object. Wang Li was surprised. Although he knew that the contents cannot be observed from the outside, it was too harmless. Xinjia didn't wait for him to ask, she took the initiative to explain with a smile. In fact, SCP-1160 was originally classified as Keter, but it was downgraded to safe only because it was contained for some reason. How to say? So Xinjia explained about SCP-1160. It was originally a huge supernatural bird. When it was first discovered in a fishing village on an island, it often attacked humans and livestock. Due to the anomalous characteristics, the fishermen couldn't resist at all. Later, the people of the Foundation discovered that they had adopted a variety of methods to contain it. The first was violent containment, but although SCP-1160 would be harmed, it could not be destroyed in fact. It has the ability to quickly and completely restore lost or damaged organizations, and can withstand all forms of conventional weapons, or explosions under 300 kilotons. What's interesting is that the Foundation found a characteristic through research later. Human cognition will have a negative impact on SCP-1160, and the number of cognitions has an inverse relationship between its total size and power. All in all, the simple and crude description is that the more people who know it, the weaker the SCP-1160, and vice versa. In this way, the Foundation thought of selling its image as a breakfast trademark. As more and more people became aware of SCP-1160, it eventually became what it is now. Let alone attacking humans and livestock, this body size can at most take away the bread and candy from the children's hands, and there is no danger. Listening to Xianya's explanation, Wang Li spit out, and the magic of the contents is really interesting. Walking along the way, not only SCP-1160, but also Luo Qingqing once told about SCP-999, Itchy Monster, who is as friendly as a child. The guy was right, SCP-999 was like a pool of jelly-like orange slimes. When Wang Li was in the past, some patients happened to use it to treat depression. Before going in, people who had no fun and hoped to die on the spot. After coming out, his face was full of sunshine, full of hope for the future. This little thing is one of the cute things of the Foundation. I heard that the Foundation intends to study it to treat depression. SCP-999 even happily expressed its willingness to donate its own samples. It would be great if we could keep one in the store. Wang Li thought in his heart. After that, if you have a chance, you must try to see if you can exchange this containment item. Across the corner, what appeared again was a shelter built in the shadow, with the label SCP-191 on it. What is this ability? Having seen a few containment objects, Wang Li feels that he really wants to move all the containment objects back home. Seeing the SCP-191 number, Xianya's smile faded a little. It's just a poor little girl. Oh. Wang Li glanced at her, then looked into the room through the observation hole. In the dimly lit room, only a petite girl under 10 years old wearing loose cotton sleeveless clothing was squatting in the corner, holding her knees with her hands, behaving very melancholy and lonely. Xianya pursed her lips. She was originally just an ordinary human little girl. She was the only survivor we found in a raid on a terrorist organization laboratory. When she was discovered, she had undergone countless transformations. It stands to reason that Foundation members should not have feelings for the containment objects. This is a very dangerous thing. But SCP-191 is really not threatening. Any Foundation project will be docile and accept it, and many people are more sympathetic to her. 80% of the skin and skull on the left face have been removed, the eyes and ears have also been replaced by complex receiving systems, and the brain has been implanted with processors and matrices. The esophagus and trachea are all remodeled, so they cannot communicate with others and can only make sobs. More than 5.8, including the cell and nerve level, have been modified, the lung, heart and main blood vessels have been replaced by mechanical analogues. The digestive system and reproductive organs have also been replaced. Listening to this, Wang Li squinted his eyes. I don't know how long to keep the curled up position. At some point, the little girl under 10 moved. She raised her head, as if looking for something. Touched, and reached out to the charging port beside her. Because the brainstem was damaged, the little girl had a very difficult action to connect the charger to her body and charge the battery in her body. The whole process was silent. After all this, the little girl curled up again, staring blankly at the floor in front of her. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 86. Without disturbing her aloud, Wang Li took a look, then quietly left with Xianya and headed for another passage. Hearing about SCP-191, he didn't change anything on the surface, but he was quite sad in his heart. This is the girl who was involved in the innocent, and finally fell to this end, which is embarrassing. I don't know what Wang Li's face was like. Xianya quickly took him to another district. Here, Wang Li saw a black cat designated SCP-795, belonging to the category of reality benders. It is similar to the nine-tailed fox in SCP-953, except that the abilities of the two parties may be different. Not long ago, after listening to Zhang Jianwu about the action, and getting news of SCP-953's escape, Wang Li was very curious about this black cat. Can it become a human? Xianya shook her head, no. This black cat could not become the beautiful cat girl in chocolate and vanilla. Wang Li's thoughts about it immediately faded a lot. It's a pity, if he can become a human, he will try to let the people of the Foundation let go anyway. In this way, the coffee shop can be upgraded from Maid Cafe to Beast Niang Maid Cafe. He not only likes to collect unusual and weird things, but even the title he does not let go. In the past, when playing games, in addition to the full level of the whole picture book, the activity had to be completed to the highest level. Inexplicable collection addiction. With inexplicable thoughts in his mind, Wang Li listened to Xianya's explanation of reality benders. There are a total of 10 reality benders discovered in the world so far. Most have the ability to dominate humans, such as SCP-4670, one of them. It is a Greek woman living in Europe. She ages very slowly. She can turn humans into pigs by touching them, and then slaughter them for cooking. The most overwhelming thing is that SCP-4670 will sell these slaughtered pigs to customers through their own stores. He was captured and contained by the Foundation in Europe because of the inferiority of cooking human meat in a barbecue restaurant. However, he escaped containment and his whereabouts are unknown. Beyond 10, there are more reality benders, and there is a high probability that they haven't been discovered yet. In addition to SCP-795, there is actually another reality bender here in the base. Having said that, Xianya hesitated a little. But thinking that Zhang Jianwu said that the secrets placed here didn't matter, so he settled. Another one? Wouldn't it be an animal again? Wang Li doubted. The two mainly known to him are all animals, a nine-tailed fox and a black cat. Xenia smiled and said mysteriously, "You will know when you come with me." Under curiosity, Wang Li retracted his gaze to look at the rest of the shelter, and followed her down the elevator to the 10th floor. Compared with other containment objects placed on the 2nd floor below the ground, the level now to be headed is obviously different from those trash fish. Not only is the defense level much higher, there is only one relatively large shelter on this entire floor. Those who can deliberately spend a whole layer of containment shouldn't be here anyway, but should be placed in an uninhabited wilderness. Since the other party thinks it's okay, Wang Li naturally doesn't ask questions. After verifying the information at the door, the two passed through the optical channel. Arriving in front of the asylum, Wang Li saw the number on it, SCP-239. The police glanced at Xenia, who took a hat on from the gatekeeper, and he approached the door and looked inside. The space inside is considered spacious and belongs to a single room. There is a bed and an electrocardiograph. If you look closely, you can see that the walls are all unknown metals with a special luster. In order to prevent her from going out, we used the mind-blocking alloy to isolate this room. Xianya said. Wang Li responded and found that sitting on the edge of the single bed was a little girl who was less than 1 meter old, probably only 7 or 8 years old, with beautiful blonde shoulder-length hair. There was no one to accompany. The young girl was doing nothing to dangle on her white porcelain calf, her eyes aimlessly looking around. At a certain moment, 357, she found Wang Li's figure in the glass crystal at the door, and her eyes flashed suddenly. When facing the girl's eyes, Wang Li realized that those eyes were gleaming with grey-green tones. Seeing this, Xianya felt tight and said quickly, "Please be a little closer to the door." Wang Li turned sideways and asked, "What's the matter?" "She is dangerous in a sense. We are trying to get her into a long sleep, but we haven't found a good way yet." "Then why is it still here?" Xianya smiled bitterly, because to her, the danger is the same everywhere. The ability of SCP-239 is whatever you want to achieve. She has the ability to do whatever she expresses intention to do. Simply put, as long as she is conscious, she can do whatever she wants. The only luck is that she seems to only affect herself and the things near her. Unfortunately, creation and influence are not limited to living things and non-living things. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 87. As long as it can be seen, no matter what, SCP-239 can affect it. The Foundation has conducted tests, but the results are unacceptable. The only consensus that arises to test how strong she is will not be the wisest move. Once, when a Foundation staff accidentally injured SCP-239, she wanted him to disappear, and then the person disappeared. But when the young girl feels guilty about her behavior, she wants to let the staff come back. On another occasion, a certain staff member told her Santa Claus before saying that it was a story. As a result, a potential SCP project was brought out, but the people of the Foundation couldn't catch it, because this Santa Claus could be magical. In summary, when awake, SCP-239's self-protection instinct makes her almost invincible. Including now, the reason why the blonde girl stayed inside was just because she listened to the words of the Foundation adults and treated her well. The reason why the mind-blocking alloy is deployed is to prevent the unconscious radiation emitted by the other party from affecting other people. SCP-239 seems to emit undiscovered radiation. These waves seem harmless at low intensities, but at high intensities they decompose substances at the subatomic level. To be safe, everyone on this level must wear a mind-blocking hat, which is the hat Xianya just wore. As for Wang Li, he rejected that ugly hat. Well, if you know the reason, you might choose to wear it honestly. Seeing that he didn't care, Xianya guessed that these wave particles were not effective for him, or had little effect, so he couldn't help but write it down secretly and planned to report it to the person in charge Zhang later. When the blonde girl saw Wang Li for the first time, her boring expression changed. She swung down the single bed and moved, perhaps only the thick slender legs of his arms came to the door. I didn't see what the other party did, the door just opened. The blonde young girl Xiaosheng stood in front of him, only reaching Wang Li's waist, with a pretty face that looked like a mixed race. Xenia was very nervous, a heart touched her throat, something like this had never happened before. Is it the problem of the young girl herself, or what did Wang Li do without her knowledge? You know, SCP-239 has always been very obedient, and there is a big gap between it and bare children of this age. This is also the reason why the Foundation is very troubled. Being young means her thoughts are not sound, and she will often make irreparable damage because of a whim. Over the years, the only effect that the Foundation has made is to cause SCP-239 to cast a spell before using its abilities. They coaxed the little girl to be a witch and required a spell to cast a spell. This method very well limits SCP-239's whimsical thoughts, and will always be blocked before she implements it. Well, the obstruction methods are not very strong. After all, the Guardian will be recognized as a good person, and will be sympathetic to her experience and help as much as possible. The blonde girl blinked her big eyes and asked expectantly, "Are you here to play with me / play with you?" Xianya didn't have time to tell him why the other party was dangerous, but Wang Li thought about it and felt that the containment objects that can be placed here are limited even if the danger must be limited. After thinking for a while, he turned around, "Can I contact her?" The main little girl is innocent and cute, as well as the agility of a 7-year-old 8-year-old child, so Wang Li gave birth to the idea of wanting to get close. I had no idea how dangerous it was to touch her. Of course, relative to the danger of others, it may not be useful to him. This. Zinnia is very embarrassed. I have to ask the minister for instructions. Mainly, I didn't expect this to happen at first. SCP-239, Witch Girl, has never performed similar behaviors before, and it just sits on the edge of the bed when someone comes and plays on its own. Occasionally, I will pester the staff to tell stories, but the number of times is very few. After the birth of the potential SCP Project Santa Claus, no one dared to tell a story. If there were another Snow White, wouldn't it require multiple vicious queens who can witchcraft? Presumably, the Foundation will no longer send people to contact the witch girl when it has nothing to do with it. However, before Zinnia had finished speaking, Wang Li was dragged into the shelter by the young girl, and the door closed automatically. This Xinya stayed for a while, not daring to delay, and immediately ran to the beginning of the passage to contact Zhangji and Wooly with the contact machine. The other side. Wang Li, who entered the shelter, looked up at the room. It's clean, tidy, and simple at the same time. There are no dolls that fit the status of a little girl. Since a doll lived and became a real doll, the Foundation did not dare to leave anything unnecessary. Hey! He jumped onto the single bed with agility, and SCP-239 patted the edge of the bed. Sit down and come with me. It was only the first time we met, but the blonde girl had an unspeakable affection for him. I have to say that the cute and adorable appearance is really easy to put down your guard. Wang Li was deceived by SCP-239's appearance, forgetting its danger. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 88. On the other side, the news that the witch girl pulled Wang Li into the room quickly passed to Zhang Jianmu's ears. He pondered for a moment, and didn't mean to stop it immediately, but let people observe the situation. If there are no accidents, business as usual. To be honest, it's not that he doesn't want to control, he really can't control it. The witch girl's ability to achieve what she wants is too outrageous, and it is included in the statistics of the Foundation. Reality benders are the most threatening. They can be even more terrifying than these people. They don't think about them except God. Besides, SCP-239 is still the best among reality benders. The Foundation has tried several methods, all of which have been ineffective. After trying, only SCP-148 can pierce her skin and inflict damage. The people at the Foundation hesitated to execute her, but in the end they adopted an observational attitude because she was only an 8-year-old child. Once she finds any dangerous changes, it is very likely that she will be executed using a variety of containment items. 360 underground 10 floors. Can you teach me new magic? The witch girl half kneeled on the bed, begging expectantly. Wang Li and her have been together for a few minutes, and they have a preliminary understanding of the little girl. Magic. The young girl nodded vigorously. Drink. The staff used to teach me magic spells, just like this. I saw her pointing to a certain floor and then yelling softly. Chromas. The floor immediately changed from white to pink at that moment. Using this spell, I can turn anything into the color I want. She looks very proud, like showing off her toy. There is still this. Aquafear. A water gun sprayed from her finger. The water gun was not particularly strong, it only shot a few meters away, and it seemed to be adjusted consciously. Besides, I still know a lot of spells, but many adults don't let me use them. The witch girl was not very happy with her mouth pursed. The little girl's self-acquainted personality is very good, not at all the formality of seeing a stranger for the first time, unlike the melancholy girl of the same age, SCP-191. Wang Li raised his eyebrows slightly. Why? They said it was dangerous. At first they asked me to point to the person in the photo and read Mortis. I heard that the person in it would die. The young girl still doesn't understand the meaning of death, and is very puzzled about it, let alone why those adults are so scared. Oh, this is a way to use SCP containment. Wang Li understands it clearly. Doesn't it mean that if you put his photo in front of the girl, she will die if she reads Mortis again? No wonder it is called the most terrifying reality bender. This ability is impossible to guard against. It's no wonder that cult organizations and terrorist organizations always hide in hiding, like a mouse crossing the street. Even their names are coded, and their whereabouts are uncertain and easy to hide. Like a thunderous terrorist leader, if he dares to take a photo, he will die in the next second. However, according to the Foundation's report, unless dealing with anomalies, it is not easy to use the containment items. Otherwise, the whole world is easy to mess around. If anyone sees your president not pleasing to the eye and quietly induces SCP-239 to kill, who knows? This is much more than a terrorist attack. There are so many things that you can't find any clues. Moreover, not only contain objects, but also the I-Fi technique that can do similar things, Wang Li has also seen in those mysterious books. Drive out of the mortal plane. Its other simple and rude name is delisting. You only need to know the name of the opponent when he was born, you can easily kill the target. The process may be a little troublesome, but most people can use it, which is more terrifying than SCP-239. Well, I do know magic, and I can teach you. Wang Li moved her thoughts, but you may not be able to learn it. Really? Of course, I am good at all types of magic. The blonde girl stared at him with admiring eyes. That's amazing. Teach me. Hearing the conversation inside, Xin Yasheng, who had been waiting outside for more than half an hour, was afraid that he would really teach those magic to SCP-239, and was too panicked. With such terrible consequences, the brain becomes dizzy just thinking about it. Wang Li took a moment to look at the nervous but eager female guide at the window, and the corners of her mouth twitched slightly. He was kindly invited by others to visit, and he couldn't make trouble. He felt this sincerity. Next time, I have stayed long enough. If there is a chance to meet next time, I will teach you special magic at that time. The blonde young girl was not very happy, seeing him getting up and walking towards the door. She could only stare at her with her small body. At the door, when Wang Li came out on his own initiative, Xianya was relieved. Thank you. Wang Li dumbly said, I'm so thankful for this, but today I will bother you to show me a lot of interesting things. Returning from the 10th floor underground, and seeing a lot of containment objects with interesting abilities, Wang Li was just about to leave. It is worthy of being a foundation, and the foundation is strong. The tip of the iceberg is enough to make people feel awe-inspiring. An hour later, tell the person in charge Zhang that I am in a very happy mood today. A word for Xianye. Wang Li got on the vehicle that sent away, and she became farther and farther away under her unknown gaze. Leaning on the seat, he stared at the Foundation branch further and further away through the rearview mirror, and smiled mentally. There is no doubt that the other party did show sincerity. But at a certain level, it can be regarded as showing muscles. In a very tactful way, I told Wang Li that the Foundation is not muddled and possesses considerable strength. This is not a threat, but to talk about the conditions clearly. It can even be said to be quite bright. The subtext means that everyone is cooperating with each other. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 89. When I returned to the street outside my cafe, it was already around 7 o'clock in the evening. After getting out of the car, Wang Li, feeling ample, twisted his neck and said goodbye to the driver and walked towards home in a rather chic gesture. Strangely, when he approached the coffee shop, he found a huge pile of express delivery at the door of the shop. Lilith is not there? Didn't you tell her that there is a courier, and help me collect it? Wang Li frowned and looked inside the shop, only to find that the cute maid was sitting behind the bar computer. I don't know why. He knocked hard on the door, and he yelled into the room with a probe, Lilith, why don't you take the courier? Hearing the master's voice, the maid stood up instantly and leaned out and said, well, I don't dare to meet with outsiders alone, so let him be at the door. Wang Li is speechless. You dare not see people alone, anyhow let him move things in. Before I spoke, I suddenly thought that the store seemed to be abnormal, so I gave up. That's right, in case the courier brother is mentally ill again, that would be really bad. Giving up the idea of training the maid for the time being, Wang Li asked her to come out and carry it together. Master, how about the Foundation? Lilith was very curious. I have been working in a coffee shop and I don't know what the real Foundation is like. It's okay, so many fun things. Wang Li gave her a glance. If you want, I can tell them and help send you back. Lilith stuck out her tongue. That's not necessary, I like to stay here. The coffee shop doesn't need to do anything all day long, at most clean up the problem. The rest of the time is to watch movies and TV, or read a book to relieve boredom. Is there anything easier than this job? The containment objects on the Foundation side must cooperate in testing and experimentation within a certain period of time. Although I know that it is impossible to be dangerous, it is like being treated like a guinea pig, and no one will be happy if I want to come. While chatting, the two went to the door of the store to carry the courier. Master, what do you buy? Why are there so many? Most of them are yours. I'm so embarrassed to say that I forgot what I asked you to buy last time. Later, I cleared the shopping cart. Seeing that there are more than 20 express delivery items, Wang Li actually forgot what he bought. Sometimes when he sees something pleasing to the eye, he will add it to the shopping cart, maybe it is not useful, and it may be thrown into the storage room to eat ashes. Lilith opened her eyes slightly, she remembered not adding too much, and there was definitely not the only problem with her. Thinking that the other party was his boss, he whispered a few words, but he dared not let Wang Li hear him. There are more than 20 express items, with different capacities. It took a few minutes for both of them to move into the store, occupying a lot of space. Hey, master, why is it broken here? During the investigation, Lilith suddenly found a relatively large express with a hole in the lower right corner, about the size of 2 adult fists. Wang Li leaned over and glanced at it. Hey? Let me take a look. Indeed, as Lilith said, there was an irregularly torn hole, dark and dark. I don't know what happened. In this case, just complain directly and finish the matter. Wang Li's instant mood level dropped by a few percentage points. Whether it is a business problem or a problem encountered in the transportation process, it is always the fault of the provider. Lilith said oh, and then slowly unpacked many couriers. Most of them are all kinds of clothes, there are some snacks, coffee ingredients, and added fines. Wang Li carefully checked each copy to confirm whether there were any flaws in the contents. Just when he was halfway apart, Lilith suddenly heard an exclamation. Why is there a fox in there? Wang Li turned his head and leaned over the pile of express delivery. It was found that the big box with the hole had been opened, and Lilith stood in front of the box, staring down dumbfounded. Fox. He felt baffled. In a daze, remember not to add a live fox to the shopping cart. Many people keep pets these years, and they have developed from cats and dogs to all kinds of domestic pets. Like fox, mink, parrot. Wang Li has a wonderful little octopus in the store. Although the octopus is often lethargic, it can stay for 2 or 3 days without moving its nest. But he really doesn't like fox stuff, mainly because it is troublesome to nurse. When he caught the sight of the box, a surprised expression appeared on his face. It's really a fox, and it was not an ordinary fox. He stared at the two with a grin, and the 9 tails swayed restlessly behind him. 0. Look for flowers. If you look closely, you can find 2 red marks on its abdomen and forelegs, which seem to have been injured. Master, is this also your adopted shelter? Lilith questioned. No wonder that the fox with 9 tails is not a normal creature no matter how you look at it. Moreover, the humane look in the opponent's eyes could not be simulated by pure beasts. Wang Li frowned and shook his head. How is it possible? He suddenly stopped in the middle of speaking, and a flash of light flashed in his mind. The 9-tailed fox, shouldn't it be the one Zhang Jianyu said to escape from the failure of encirclement and suppression? The probability is high. No normal animal has a 9-tailed fox, and the genetic mutation has not changed so exaggerated. Whether it is or not, just post the information about this stuff. 0. Thinking about it, he directly took out his phone and took a picture of Zhou Hu, and clicked to send it to Zhang Jianyu. It is estimated that in a short while, you will be able to get accurate information. SCP-953 is rather daunting now, not only comes to a strange place and is seen by 2 humans. The more important reason is that it cannot use the power of hypnosis and telepathy to control the 2. What is going on with these 2 people? And this place? After being released from the box, its hair exploded and its back arched subconsciously. An invisible threat radiated in the air, stimulating it wanted to run away on the spot. But it can't, let alone escape. It is very difficult to make a few moves. What kind of place did I come to? SCP-953 was anxious. At first, he wanted to dominate the 2 of them to help heal the wounds, and then ate the blonde maid whose charm value exceeded the limit of mortals. Such a beautiful girl, the taste of liver must be delicious. However, before it could execute its plan, Wang Li's vibrating sound shattered SCP-953's ambitions. It's really the 9-tailed fox that ran away. He murmured in wonder for some reason. After confirming the authenticity of the message, put down the phone, Wang Li looked at the pitiful fox in front of him with inexplicable eyes. SCP-953's scalp is numb. Although he doesn't know who he is, that sentence completely reveals his identity. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 90. Trembling in the box. Poor, weak, and helpless. You are from the Foundation. When Wang Li heard a human voice from the fox's mouth, he was still a little surprised. The main reason is that this scene is too magical. It seems that in the ancient story of Liao Zai, the vixen who lured the scholars to go to Beijing to rush for the exam, the original sense of separation between reality and legend does not seem so obvious. People from the Foundation? Hearing this, Wang Li thought for a while, it should not be counted. SCP-953 was overjoyed. It always seemed that these two people were not easy. They were just about to ask them to help themselves, and they would give 360 in return in the future. I heard Wang Li add another sentence, although it doesn't count, there is a cooperative relationship between me and the Foundation. Don't you say so early. The mood suddenly fell from heaven to hell, hope never bloomed and withered and faded in a blink of an eye. This kind of discomfort can only be experienced by those who have experienced it. But the one who knows the current affairs is the wise man. SCP-953 quickly accepted the situation and corrected its attitude. She transformed into a human form again, transformed into a demon-burning and glamorous woman, with 9 tails behind her like a lady's leather outfit. The 2 blood-stained scars made her look pitiful, which aroused the male's desire for protection. If you want to be any man, you will be fascinated by this situation. Regrettably, Wang Li is not an ordinary person. He said that he was eye-opening. Spray, you deserve to be a vixen, this charm is really powerful. The eye pupils are looking forward to the lotus, deliberately exposing large areas of white skin. A normal man can't stand it. As for Lilith, she was a little angry, her eyes swept over Wang Li first, and then stared at the 9-tailed fox girl. Shameless! She whispered, she wanted to wrap up the fox so as not to let her seduce the owner. The blonde girl who has never been in close contact with the opposite S*X doesn't understand the reason for this kind of psychology. SCP-953 naturally did not hear the insults, and begged Wang Li for mercy with a pitiful and weak posture. Please don't reveal my news to the Foundation, okay? Sorry, I just notified the Foundation, they are probably coming towards me. What? SCP-953 froze for a while. Did you move so fast? Anyway, give me some room to play. Will you let me go? I'll tell you a secret. SCP-953 still wants to fight for a chance. Wang Li turned back and sat on the sofa and said, what's the secret? About the Serpent's Hand organization, tell me the story. Even though he felt that there were few news about the Snake Hand organization that could attract his attention, Wang Li still gestured her to go down with the mentality of not listening. SCP-953 didn't play tricks, worried that the people from the Foundation would come too soon, so it made a long story short. The people of the Snake Hand organization are planning to summon the Great Indescribable. I must have heard of this news, but I have a deeper secret here. Their headquarters is located in the desert of Western Australia. For this plan, the Snake I have been planning it for 3 years. Fearing that it will not be in time, SCP-953 quickly tells what it knows as 5 minutes have passed. Wang Li, who thought it was nothing more than a secret, gradually got serious. Summon the Indescribable? I learned from Zhang Jianwu that the people of the Serpent's Hand organization seem to be able to use mysterious knowledge, and its source cannot be traced back. This made him suddenly curious, searching for and collecting items and clues related to indescribable myths, which is regarded as one of Wang Li's greatest actions. Suddenly, I heard that someone wanted to summon the Great and Indescribable. He who had failed in summoning Kitugya once, how could he just ignore it? If this is not mixed up, it would be too reconciled. With a special purpose, Wang Li slowly asked all the information known to SCP-953. It's a pity that this fox doesn't know the exact location of the Serpent's Hand headquarters, but only knows the approximate location. In addition to these, there is another news that is quite astonishing. The reason why the Serpent's Hand organization got those strange spells is said to have inherited an abandoned city and a broken library called the Yis. SCP-953 is not sure. ISI City, there is a library. Wang Li's eyes lit up. Knowing the indescribable incarnation, he immediately decided that he had to participate in it. SCP-953 pressed 5.8 and asked eagerly, I have said all I know, can you let me go? You can't ask me about this, you have to ask them. Wang Li pointed to the Grim Foundation people outside the store. SCP-953 only discovered that in less than 10 minutes, these people have actually arrived here, and the speed is unacceptable. Silly and foolishly let someone from the Foundation put her into a box made of mind-blocking alloy. During this time, the fox looked desperate and his eyes were blank. It is estimated that I was madly regretting in my heart, and finally escaped from the encirclement and slammed into the hands of the Foundation partner. It's just self-investing in the net. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 91. Seeing SCP-953 completely contained in the telekinesis alloy box, Xia Ruobing, who came here to retrieve it, took a look at Wang Li. Whether in Luo Qingqing's mouth or her boss Zhang Jianwu's side, she has heard about the store manager. Having seen the terrible place of that black goat cub with my own eyes, I was a little nervous subconsciously. Excuse me, thank you very much for your help. Although it is not clear how the owner caught the nine-tailed fox, it did not delay her feeling of awe. Hundreds of kilometers apart, without knowing the specific circumstances, it was easy to catch SCP-953 that had escaped due to a mistake on the Foundation's side. If you read more novels, I'm afraid she will be horrified. Wang Li waved his hand and said confidently, "Thank you. No, remember that the favor is, I will not work for nothing, and I will find you to make up for it later." Although he didn't seem to pay anything to catch the fox, luck is also part of his strength. Isn't it the person he notified the Foundation for delivering the 08 door? Therefore, it is logical to ask for favors. Xia Ruobing didn't feel that there was anything wrong, and after his forehead expressed his understanding, he left with a special team. Ignoring the people outside the Foundation, Lilith has been sorting out the couriers inside, picking out her own items. As a result, I saw that Wang Li sent those people away. The first thing I did when I returned to the store was to pull out the Lalei text in the bookshelf area, and I kept flipping things. She hugged a lot of clothes and asked, "Master, what are you doing?" Without looking up, Wang Li turned to the page he needed, find Lalei's position. What to do when looking for Lalei's position? Lilith kept her eyes open, expressing her incomprehension, and went upstairs with her own things alone. After listening to SCP-953's story about the Snake Hand organization summoning the indescribable, Wang Li, who initially sneered about it, got serious. If you want to summon the Lord of Lalei, you have to wait until the stars return. According to astronomical observations, if it is natural to wait until then, the daylily will be cold. This is why Wang Li was not interested in the beginning. Who knows that the leader of the Serpent's Hand organization is a ruthless man, actually intending to use astronomical magic and containment objects to forcibly create an opportunity for the stars to return to their place. It really made it for him. It is said that the distance plan has successfully gone for the most part, but it is a pity that SCP-953 is not a special core member, only a general idea. Even for wastes whose headquarters are vaguely demarcated, Wang Li did not expect her to provide extremely detailed information. In any case, you only need to know a little bit. The specific location for summoning and awakening the Great Thulhu. The Lalei text shows that Lalei is located in the South Pacific, with coordinates at 479 south latitude and 12,643 west longitude. No matter how many tricks the leader of the Serpent's Hand plays, the ultimate goal is also here. If Wang Li reveals the location to the Foundation now, it is estimated that the Snake's Hands will be overwhelmed. After thinking for a while, he gave up his plan to disclose to the Foundation. Summoning the Great Thulhu, a rare scene, it is a shame to be interrupted. Anyway, knowing that Thulhu sent divine spells/expulsion spells, when it was really overwhelming, it would be sent back to others. As for the failure rate, Wang Li subconsciously ignored it, and subconsciously asked him to skip this question. Western Australia. Abandoned underground city. The Snake Hand leader, who knew that all the Gemini actions had failed, took a transcript and came from between the round tables to a large secret room full of various ceremonies. There were dozens of people with him. "Chief, no, High Priest, are we really going to give up here?" Hearing the question from his subordinates, the leader of the Serpent's Hand smiled openly, and he looked around at the people behind him. "It's just a strategic retreat. Those who want to come will already know where I am waiting, and they will find it soon. Instead of staying here, it is better to leave early and prepare for the last procedure. It is not yet time for a frontal collision. When our God descends, the lost will eventually be taken back. At that time, we will get more. Besides, almost all the valuable things left here have been taken away, even if they were given to the Foundation." The leader of the Serpent's Hand, known as the High Priest, made an impassioned announcement, and his language was very contagious. The other people in the Serpent's Hand organization followed the enthusiastic shouts as expected. "Is this someone in a cult?" After inspiring the congregation, the high priest took the lead to the door of an invisible vortex in the corner. He first looked up at the door with a blurred vision, like looking at a beautiful artwork. In fact, this door is more precious than the artwork. It has a name: the Door of Time and Space. As a treasure left by the ISI people who conquered time, the method of constructing the time-space gate happened to be left behind. The so-called time-space gate spells allow the caster to open paths between different contemporaries, dimensions, and even worlds, allowing the user to travel extremely long distances with just a small step. However, the time-space gate usually only connects to one place, and this gate can only travel within the Earth and at this point in time. After all, if you want to travel to the universe, dimensions, and even world class, such consumption can't be activated unless relying on the burden of gods or extremely powerful wizards. Although it seems rather shabby, it can be regarded as space travel anyway. The connecting point of this gate is the Pacific Ocean, a certain spot on Pohnpei. Urging all his subordinates to enter the gate of time and space, the leader of the Serpent's Hand looked at the last person left, and did not hurriedly destroy all the ritual formations that existed here. The collected energy and matter had already been transmitted to Pohnpei Island in some way, so he started it swiftly. In the end, standing in front of the gate of time and space, he faced this abandoned city and stared deeply at the incomplete library in the distance, leaving a sentence. "I will be back." In the next moment, the whole person disappeared in the gate of time and space. With the departure of the last term, the gate of time and space collapsed and the invisible vortex dissipated in the void, leaving only a pile of ruined walls. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 92. The Distant Western Pacific. Pohnpei is part of the Federated States of Micronesia. It is a small island with a quiet environment but a wet geographical location. Rainforest and man-made ditches are all over the island. Pohnpei was occupied several times during World War II, and it can be seen that some architectural ruins still exist. The place where the Serpent's Hand and the group of people from the time-space gate appeared was a coastal village named Metalanum. Putting on a sacrificial robe that believes in the Dagon religion, the leader of the Serpent's Hand, also known as the High Priest, led the crowd out of a strange church on the edge of the village. This is their first base. Since knowing the location of Lalei, the Serpent's Hand has managed to do better than Nikit City here. Even Night City can be given to the Foundation, but not here. Moreover, the abnormality was exposed, and none of them infiltrated the residents in large numbers. Only a small part of the area was quietly preaching, allowing the residential area on the corner of the island to mate with the sea monsters and produce hybrids. Because of the small scope, the people who enter the teachings act relatively low-key, and no one has noticed it in the past few years. As soon as the group of people appeared from the church, they were greeted by people from Dagon God. These people did not join the Snake Hand organization, but believed in the Dagon religion. The person who came to greet him respectfully asked before asking, "Your High Priest, will we still hold the ceremony later?" "Proceed as usual." Leaving a word coldly, the High Priest took the lead and walked to the hidden ceremonial field at the far edge of the coast. The time difference was different from that of Long Country. It was already night at this time. The starry sky is generally not common on the sea, and there was a heavy rain during the day, and the sky was gloomy, as if foreseen what was about to happen. The subordinates with the Hand of the Snake, after 20 minutes of journey, joined a group of Dagon gods in the village to accompany them, and a team of about 50 people reached a cliff. There are 3 altars standing here, and on the highest altar in the middle is placed exactly the same evil and noble statue carried by the important Qadarkay of the Hand of the Serpent. In the process of coming here, everyone remained silent, as if they were afraid of collision. Until standing under the altar, the High Priest ordered with a hoarse voice, "Bring the sacrifice here." After receiving the order, someone quickly retreated. In less than 10 minutes, there was a commotion in the dense forest. A total of 11 villagers with a frightened look were brought over, tied up with sackcloth in their mouths to prevent them from disturbing others. "High Priest, the sacrifice has been brought here. We have checked the surroundings and found no other people." "Good." A glance at the 11 people who were about to serve as sacrifices, the High Priest stopped speaking and stood still. The others seemed to know what to do, not surprisingly, and followed him patiently. These people have done the ceremony more than once. They took out the cloth stuffed in their mouths by 11 people, and the cultists took out 11 purple liquid potions and poured them all. Someone spit out the medicine in a panic, and suffered extremely severe violence, and then swallowed it obediently. After a while, 6 men and 5 women began to feel feverish, and their breathing became heavy. The cultists were calm, but stared at the 11 with indifferent eyes. After another half an hour, standing under the altar, the high priest looked at the turbulent sea that was darker than Mo, as if staring into the abyss. With the help of the burning light of a torch held by a nearby person, he picked up the manuscript he had brought from Nikit City, and opened it extremely religiously. If you have knowledge, you will find this thick copy of 700 pages. The cover is written in Latin. Theot Aquadan Gen. Its meaning is Katayat, God of Water. Staring at the text written in Gothic letters in the book, there are also distorted and profanity engraving illustrations, and the high priest gently strokes it almost blurred. For a while it's time to start. He glanced at the followers and gave instructions. At this time, the believers began to act, cut all the ropes that bound the 11 people, and expelled them to the center to make up a pile. At this moment, the 11 people are sane, and under the influence of drugs, they crave each other crazily for the opposite S*X. Soon, the 11 people found the object, and they were ugly fornicating like a livestock, and let out unbearable gasps. The cultists around were immediately excited when they saw it. Of course, their excitement was not aimed at S*X, but something greater. It is like the singing of the high priest at this moment. Rise up! The nameless existence, the time that belongs to you has come. We are personally chosen by you. Through your spells and magic, through your dreams and charms. We know that you are coming. Coming to serve you, for the master we love. The Knight of Nakthulhu, resting on the green bottom. Odum. The intricate singing spreads along the sea breeze along the edge of the cliff and echoes above the sea. Again and again the surrounding cultists also echoed and shouted loudly. Jafen Gluum Glunafhulhur Lioganagulftan. In an instant, the sky was overcast with clouds, forming a terrifying vortex, with faint flashes of electric light. Fengluum Glunafhulhur Lioganagulftag, I.N. The surface of the sea began to tremble, and with the help of the lightning of the sky, countless black shadows under the sea were swimming wildly. Fengluum Glunafhulhur Lioganagulftan. The cold sea breeze did not know when it turned into a storm, and gave out a stern roar. In a short moment, the storm turned into a tornado, sweeping the sea towards the sky, connecting with the black cloud vortex, forming a spectacular dragon sucking water. The dazzling thunder light travels through the clouds and spreads to the waterspout, shining on the huge things that exist in it. Like the body of a long dragon, hidden in a waterspout, high above the cliff overlooking the cultists. So far, not only the cultists made crazy laughs and shouts, but even the man who was the leader of the Serpent's Hand and the high priest of the Dagon god could not restrain himself. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 93. The mantra he just chanted was not to summon Thulhu, but Odum, who was the same old ruler as the great Thulhu. It's a pity that Odum didn't give a response, and the one who appeared here is the father god of the Dagon sect. Dagon. Occasionally, with the help of electric light, he can see his figure clearly. It was a body that was 10 times larger than the deep diver, and it was lying in the waves. It was unexpected to be able to call Dagon, and the voice of the high priest chanting prayers became shrill with excitement. To use an analogy, it's like a fanatical fan sees an idol. Even religious worship is more exaggerated than idolatry. In the madness of witnessing the gods, sexual pleasure is nothing. The cultists piously came to the 11 people who were like animals eager for each other. They used axes, machetes, and daggers to kill and dismember the sacrifices whose minds had fallen into illusion. These horrible scenes are like a group of demons dancing. Father God Dagon witnessed this scene and communicated with the high priest who used the incantation. The communication between the two is not language, but a kind of telepathy. Those unspeakable words and syllables were completely incomprehensible to the high priest. Every time he exchanged a sentence, he 360 felt that the precarious sanity value collapsed again, and he took another firm step toward the abyss. God knows how long it lasted, and I don't know what exchanged between the two. After the ancient syllables escaped, Father God Dagon re-entered the sea, and several movements disappeared without a trace. When Father God Dagon retreated, the doomsday scene was just returned, and it subsided strangely in just a few breaths. Only the heavy rain in Zhejiang province came. The high priest still stood there in a daze, as if digesting the information and knowledge brought by the Father God Dagon. For a long time, he grinned with a terrible smile. Finally, the ritual sacrifices were cleaned up, and before he was ready to leave, he saluted the detestable statue devoutly. As the torrential rain washed away the remaining horror here, the cultists also stepped into the dense forest and returned. This is not the end, but a beginning. Magic City Coffee Shop. Unlike the world turned upside down, Wang Li lived a leisurely life. Over the past 2 days, I have been reading the Lalage text and Ponpei. I-Fi, many people call them sea monsters, but a tribe chooses to associate with them and worship them. These sea monsters taught this tribe about Dagon God and are offering them to the great during the forbidden ritual of God Gun. The people of this tribe will mate with the sea monsters. Seeing this, Wang Li couldn't help but sigh. Being able to be cruel to mate with such an ugly deep diver, I have to say that it is a real warrior. Well, it may also be coerced. It is more likely that those people have been polluted and therefore lose human aesthetics. With a single thought, Wang Li suddenly remembered that he had used spells several times. Maybe he was also contaminated. A little flustered, he hurriedly stared at Lilith to confirm whether the aesthetics was distorted. The maid who was holding a Bible and praying was sitting at the window with her legs folded, and the sun drew a halo on her cheeks, pure and holy. It's really strange, after listening to the introduction from the Foundation, Lilith obviously has the succubus bloodline, why didn't she show her talent skills? Perhaps his eyes were too direct and naked, and he noticed the abnormal Lilith turn sideways and touched his face. Master, is there something wrong with me? After being discovered, Wang Li didn't change his face. It's okay, I just test whether I have any problems. What do I need to do? No, you just sit down. He has no evil intentions, and his attitude is quite calm. Believing him seriously, Lilith turned sideways. After observing for a while, and determined that Lilith's charm value is still unstoppable, Wang Li heaved a sigh of relief. Hey, it seems that I am fine. In addition to the fact that the aesthetics is not distorted, I have not heard any whispering BB these days. Anyone who has had a thorough knowledge of mythology by the Foundation seems to hear the babblings of ancient gods in their ears. Probably my will is very high. There is no need to pursue so many things that cannot be explained. Putting down the Ponpei scriptures, Wang Li finally warned the weird man in yellow that was facing him. Starting at 8 o'clock this morning, the man came to the store to sit, holding a book with a yellowed cover and slowly reading. Unlike Naya's second-degree sick girl, Wang Li really didn't have much communication with him. Knowing that people who can read books on their bookshelves are definitely not ordinary people. Besides, this person often keeps 2 artworks in the store to enrich his library, and Wang Li does not charge any fees. What are you looking at? After reading the story about the deep diver and his cult, Wang Li stood up, raised his head and asked the monster in yellow. The man in yellow wearing a mask with strange lines raised his head and glanced at him, then slowly passed the book in his hand. Wang Li took it bluntly. The first glance was a line of poems: along the shore, cut the clouds, Gemini's sun sinks into the lake, and the long shadows fall, it's a Nikarkesa. The wonderful night where the black star rises, the wonderful moon that moves in the night, but the more wonderful thing is that, the lost Koksa. No one hears the song of Biplexes, the king's sash is swaying with the wind, and the song disappears silently, the dim Koksa. My soul can no longer sing, my song is like tears no longer flowing, only dryness and silence are there, the lost Koksa, opera. Unexpectedly, he was still a young man. Wang Li turned a few pages casually and returned the yellow paper to him again. Do you like to watch this kind of thing? Well, I like literature and art. They are the only things that can please me. The hoarse, secretive noise of the yellow-clothed man rang out. I can tell. It's very gratifying to say that the second disease in the second degree finally didn't need to answer that strange and weird like a secret signal. But this tone sounds very arrogant. I don't know what he is abnormal, and Wang Li didn't pay much attention to it. Who hasn't pretended to be forced yet? Do you know Naya? This question silenced the person in yellow for a few seconds, feeling as if he was thinking about whether the answer would be unexpected. After a long time, he nodded silently after careful consideration. It's so cold. Wang Li suddenly lost interest in chatting with him. It was better for Naya, and he didn't know what to do. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 94. The second-degree sick girl is always fascinated and uncertain. Sometimes Wang Li suddenly thought of looking for her, but for a time he didn't know what means to use to contact her. In fact, he knew the real means of contact, but he didn't know what spells should be used to summon her. Just as he sighed that he must give Naya a contact information next time, the man in yellow suddenly raised his head and looked at a non-existent nihility. Someone is building a gate of time and space. The yellow-clothed man paused, although his attention was drawn over, but considering where he was, he temporarily gave up his intention to pursue it. Why? Wang Li noticed the strangeness of the other party and couldn't help asking. The yellow-clothed man remained silent, and continued to flip through the art documents in his hands. Obviously, for him, these opera scripts attract him more than other things. The other party didn't want to say that Wang Li couldn't break it. The casserole asked to the end. Withdrawing his thoughts, freeing his mind to think about the payment required for catching SCP-953. However, the Foundation hasn't found anything particularly attractive to him for the time being. A few are quite good, but the value is too high. There is no way to succeed in exchange for this thing alone, unless you help the Foundation a few more favors. Regarding the issue of cooperation, Wang Li has nothing to say. The principle of equivalent exchange is normal. The other side. Wang Li is following the idea of the Foundation, and very serious actions have been launched here. Captured SCP-953-NK, one of the important cadres of the Snake Hand organization. Through interrogation and use of containment items, the Foundation learned the approximate location of the Snake Hand headquarters. However, due to transnational operations, they must first notify the talents in Australia. The good news is that with regard to terrorist organizations and cults, uniting the two parties is not as troublesome as transnational law enforcement is usually. It can even be said that the procedures were exceptionally smooth and simple. Among them, there is also the reason why the foundations in Australia are relatively weak. These days, the weak always have no right to argue. Captain. This action feels a bit terrible. Jiang Wei whispered to Xia Ruobing after receiving the notice from above. They were ordered to go to Australia for missions with elite teams from other regions. There are 3 teams, more than 30 people in total, and they will carry containment items. Strive to attack the Serpent's Hand headquarters in the shortest time possible, thereby destroying this new type of organization that has been active for more than 10 years in one fell swoop. Xia Ruobing frowned. Don't think that there is nothing, we just have to figure out how to complete the task, and other things are not for us to consider. She is an absolute soldier and only obeys orders. Jiang Wei gave a dry laugh and shut up obediently. Zhang Lan, who was next to him, was gloating and seemed very happy to see him deflated. Li Kai is a dull gourd, only occasional smiles appear in his eyes. As a comrade in arms who has been born to death many times, although he usually doesn't like to talk, he is taciturn. In fact, the feelings are in my heart. Several other team members were whispering, speculating that the order was supposed to be a big vote. The mission was originally scheduled to be executed the next day, and 3 elite teams from multiple Foundation branches arrived in Australia early that night. As one of the commanders of this operation, Zhang Jianyu intends to follow up all the time. K and SCP-953 from the Serpent's Hand organization provided information. It was only a matter of time before the headquarters of the Serpent's Hand were found. After cooperating with the Australian Foundation to search for a day and night, they finally located the specific location of the Snake Hand headquarters. The Western Desert of Australia. Xia Ruobing asked another special team captain, is this the confirmation? According to SCP-953 and KS confession, it was about the front. Before long, together with the Australian Foundation, a team of more than 100 people came to an abandoned building. That's where the Gemini once entered the City of Night. The gunship that sent these people to arrive is flying over at the moment, in order to eliminate the Snake Hand organization at one time. Armored vehicles, various thermal weapons, including long-range artillery strikes arranged in advance are all ready. But these things cannot be transported into the underground city, they are just used to prevent the enemy from escaping. A team of hundreds of people control various thermal weapons. Although this thing is not very effective on anomalies, this time it is dealing with humans. 0. Look for flowers. Thermal weapons are still very efficient at killing humans. Following the sequence to enter the abandoned building, Xia Ruobing came to the half-destroyed statue in the center of the building. It was a magnificent cylindrical object, about 10 feet high. The statue was covered with something like scales, and it was broken in an inclined plane above the middle. It should be this stuff. Everyone looked at each other to make sure, and then one of them chanted according to the statue according to the language derived from the ancient times. But in a short moment, the tunnel to the ground appeared in front of you. Xia Ruobing glanced at each other with the others, and walked along the underground passage one after another. So far, things have gone too smoothly, and I feel a little unsure. 0 Therefore, when the people walked through the passage, they were tense and worried about accidents at any time. Unexpectedly, after walking through this passage, no abnormalities were found. As if the people of the Serpent's Hand organization didn't notice the difference at all, let them successfully invade the underground abandoned city Nakit City. Captain, I don't feel right. Li Kai whispered into Xia Ruobing's ear. If you want to fight directly with the people of the Serpent's Hand organization at this moment, maybe you have to rest assured. But such a dense atmosphere is really oppressive. Xia Ruobing had similar ideas, and her inspiration told her that it was not that simple. She could only lower her voice to remind the players, be careful. In less than half an hour, in this tense and silent atmosphere, everyone finally walked through the dark underground passage full of earthy smell. Standing in a line outside the entrance of the cave and seeing the scene in front of them clearly, everyone couldn't help but keep their eyes wide open, admiring the sight. In front is a magnificent and huge abandoned city, which has withstood the baptism of war and exudes an ancient atmosphere. This is Nakit City. Even Xia Ruobing couldn't help being lost for a while. The dome is hundreds of meters high, and the collapsed buildings are one after another, all with traces of time erosion. Inlaid with complex and mysterious engravings on the upper and surrounding walls of the city, even after countless years, it still plays a tenacious role. Thanks to this, the faint white light illuminates the entire underground city, which, thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 95. It is hard to imagine that this city is actually a legacy of hundreds of millions of years ago. The whole city is made of stones, and there are some unknown substances. From a distance, you can see a lot of traces of basalt. The first impression of the whole city is that it is vast, old and great. The first to break away from this emotion of witnessing prehistoric civilization, Xia Ruobing hurriedly looked around. If an enemy had just launched an attack while they were absent, the people of the Foundation would have suffered heavy losses. But this kind of thing did not happen, which makes people very puzzled. Someone asked, where are the people organized by the Serpent's Hand? Do you know that we are coming and ran ahead of time? Possible. Many people speculate endlessly. Xia Ruobing frowned slightly with his 360 eyebrows. From a moment ago, CAI was faintly disturbed, and there was something missing? But after much deliberation, I couldn't find anything wrong. She couldn't make everyone retreat by feeling, not to mention that she didn't have that right. Let alone the plan to act together for the two countries, she can only command her own team members just for her own 3 teams. However, they belonged to the same country anyway, and when the Australians ordered them to go away to find the traces of the Snake Hand organization, she quietly told the other 2 captains to be more careful. Fortunately, the other 2 captains listened to her advice very carefully and did not disperse, but acted together. After all, Xia Ruobing's inspiration has been able to provide quite accurate information, saving her many times between life and death. The 2 captains are by no means ignorant of good and evil. They ordered their players to be careful and look after each other. However, after several hours of exploration, not to mention the danger, even the human figure is invisible. It seems that the people of the Serpent's Hand organization got the news ahead of time and transferred it. Everyone came to this conclusion. This is not good news. It is very scary to know what the other party is planning. The Serpent's Hand can bear to abandon the headquarters and continue to plan, which is enough to see how firm their determination is. Reporting on the situation of Nakit City, although the responsible persons are very unwilling, they can only recognize the reality. Fortunately, they asked everyone to clear the field to see if they could find the remaining technology, materials, or objects in the ancient city left by the Islamic people. These races that can travel between the stars and even time and space have enough technology that only a few leaks out are enough for the current human research for dozens of hundreds of years. Due to the size of the place, it took a full day for the talents of the Foundation to barely visit the entire abandoned city. Except for those incomprehensible inscriptions, the Serpent's Hand basically left nothing usable. There is only one place, and that is the library in the center of the city. Here, densely packed inscriptions are engraved on every corner. Although it was destroyed, some parts are still well preserved. The information that the Serpent's Hand did not take is all recorded on the slate. People from the Foundation tried to take it, but unfortunately it couldn't be moved. No matter what tools are used, there is no way to leave any marks on the slate. I think this is why the people of the Serpent's Hand organization kept it here. Is there any way to take it away? If it can be destroyed, the hand of the snake will be so kind? The people present thought so, because almost no one understood the so-called ancient characters, staring at the mysterious characters engraved on them and looked at each other. Unless it is presented to the researcher of the institute who specializes in mystical knowledge, it is impossible for the people present to read it clearly. So, while waiting for someone from above to negotiate, Xia Ruobing and others stay here honestly. But they are honest, and they do not mean that the people of the Australian Foundation are also honest. After discovering that there was no conflict, the Australian side naturally occupied this underground city and begged the people of the Long Country Foundation to withdraw from here. Then they have nothing to do with them. Really crossing the river to demolish the bridge? Zhonglan muttered bitterly. Before the action, the Australian Foundation was worried that it would not be able to deal with the Snake Hand organization. When Long Kingdom was willing to send someone, it immediately welcomed it, and all procedures were simplified. As a result, after confirming that there is no danger, he immediately changed his face. Disgusting people are really good at it. Xia Ruobing glared at her. Don't talk nonsense, since the task is temporarily over, we will go back before tomorrow. Don't do some small actions that can easily cause disputes. These are not our responsibility. I know, Captain, it's just a bit uncomfortable. Not only Zhonglan, but also others. But this is helpless in other people's territory. After being politely asked to leave, the people of the Longguo Foundation were treated on the surface, but in fact they were kept away from the center as if they were guarded. The Australian side immediately sent an expert to identify the inscription on the record in the library center. Although they couldn't understand the disgusting faces of others, the people of the Long Kingdom had no choice but to bear it. Resting on the edge of Nectar City, waiting for the upper class to negotiate, Xia Ruobing ignored the complaints of his team members and stood alone to observe the city. People on the Australian side are searching everywhere, carefully looking for other secrets. About half an hour passed, and it seemed that they were really found. With the help of the information recorded in the zirconium steel fractured in the center of the library, they quickly gathered to a location blocked by more weird texts. The place is located at the extreme edge of the city, with a lot of basalt. All the huge boulders buried here were removed, and a well was found underneath, engraved with hieroglyphs. Everyone came to the mouth of the well and looked down intently. The well led to the underground, and it was very dark. Someone tried to drop a stone, and the result of 5.8 didn't hear the echo for a long time. The depth was at least over 100 meters. Is it a hidden secret? The Australians were hesitant. Since I found it, there is no reason to miss it. Soon after, Xia Ruobing discovered that someone brought ropes and a series of unknown uses from the underground passage entrance from time to time. What are they doing? Looking from a height, you can only see a group of people around a corner of the city, constantly working. If you don't get close, you obviously can't see the inside clearly. Captain! What are you looking at? After complaining to the team members for a while, Zhonglan couldn't help but see Xia Ruobing standing on the high slope. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 96. Shaking his head, Xia Ruobing didn't say what he felt in his heart. The anxiety has become more intense with the behavior of the Australians. Remember, if there is an accident later, tell everyone to retreat directly. Zhonglan felt inexplicable. Accidents? Will there be accidents? I don't know, it's just a hunch. After the initial reminder, no changes have occurred for so long, everyone in Long Country relaxed a little, but now they are nervous because of Xia Ruobing's words. It's not that no one has doubts, but today's actions do reveal weirdness everywhere. Why are there only half of the stone tablets in the library? If you really want to use the excuse of being destroyed by war in ancient times, it seems reasonable, but when the people of the Serpent's Hand organization can't move away, why don't they use means to completely hide it? It would be a little trouble for the Foundation, such as extending the time to find the steel. They must be very happy. Inside Nikit. Surely the secret described on the 08 steel is inside. Looking down on the faintly disturbing shaft, an Australian team leader frowned and asked. A certain Foundation professor nodded very positively. If what is said on the steel is correct, the secret is definitely under the shaft. Hearing what he said was so decisive, other people suddenly no longer had any suspense, and started to act one after another. The well is very large, 5 or 6 meters in diameter. Everyone looked at each other, and directly wrapped themselves with a rope, wearing a bright flashlight on their heads, and slowly slid down the well wall. No one knows what's underneath, so they are all looking forward and nervous. Perhaps the people of the Serpent's Hand have already tried to take away the items that the Ye's people may have left behind. However, 100% of the people in Australia will not give up until the last witness. Furthermore, this city is already considered the biggest gain. The engravings, various mysterious symbols and lines carved on the building must be the technology used by that prehistoric civilization. If it can be studied, it will be of great benefit. Excited, one after another Australian Foundation members wandered down. One of the captains who acted first was very fast, but slipped nearly 100 meters away in a few minutes. Why is it so deep? And there are messy five-toed radial footprints everywhere on the well wall. Could it be that it was what the ISI people did? He muttered and looked down carefully, using the bright flashlight on his forehead to illuminate, trying to widen his eyes. After changing a few angles, we can vaguely see some peculiar buildings, like tall windowless pillars or towers. How about it? Hearing the question from above, the captain couldn't restrain his excitement, raised his head and responded loudly, "It seems like an underground city below." Hearing this, the people above were trembling with excitement. Buy one get one free. The person above immediately used the wireless communication device to report information to the headquarters of the National Foundation. At this moment, the captain who had just revealed the good news suddenly saw something that seemed to disappear from the tower. What? He was startled, and quickly looked carefully. However, I didn't see anything. Immediately afterwards, some team members also landed to this height. 7 or 8 bright flashlights were irradiated together, and there were more places to see. The tower and windowless pillars that the captain saw just now are just the tip of the iceberg, and a large area is a black city composed of large basalt towers. The architectural style is completely inconsistent with the Nikit city just seen, it is purely two forms. The captain of the Australia Foundation and the team members dropped to the ground cautiously, untied the rope tied around their waist, and then dispersed, hoping to observe more. For some reason, the surrounding air is cold, and it is obviously a deep underground space, but there is a breeze blowing from time to time. No one knows where these winds come from. What they don't know is that in this ancient city where no one has visited for tens of millions of years, with the arrival of human beings, some terrible creatures sleeping here have been awakened. In the vast darkness, strips of amorphous software like coral insects crawled out of some holes quietly, even without wings, they can easily float in the air. On the ugly body, there were dozens of eyes and tentacles. But those eyes didn't turn in a daze, as if they had lost their eyesight. The people of the Foundation did not notice that the strange creatures floating in the darkness were getting closer and closer to the group of people. Even if they lose their eyesight, they have their own means of positioning. Maybe you think the darkness is quite infiltrating, and one of the team members asked in a low voice, "Captain, do you feel so cold? There is a strange smell." "You say that, it does have a strange smell." Others followed suit. "Okay, don't talk nonsense, our purpose is to find out the general situation of this place." The man as the captain frowned and interrupted. "The ancient cities handed down from the ancient times, no matter how precious they are. If they can find one or two good things, they will be credited for a great deal." Under the reprimand, the team members hurriedly closed their mouths and carefully checked the surrounding situation. At this time hiss, 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 as if the whistle of 363 whistles suddenly sounded all around. What? It was like the sound of a certain creature, and everyone suddenly became tight, and immediately reacted and gathered in a circle like an enemy. However, under the strong light of the flashlight, there was nothing around. They overlooked one place, and that is heaven. In the invisible darkness, 4 or 5 amorphous soft creatures looked down at the group of people below. They control the air and fly freely. The cold sweat slipped from the forehead, and the Foundation team swallowed their saliva, holding the firearms that were ready to fire when the insurance was opened, and faced the unknown danger with fear. The scream of a whistle resembled a signal, and then there were screams coming from afar, as if calling a companion. The screaming sound echoed throughout the underground city, spreading to infinite distances. The scalp of a group of people was numb. The most dangerous thing was that they didn't even dare to put out the light on their heads. They pressed their fingers on the trigger and were extremely concentrated. "Can't go on like this. Let's go back." The captain kept calm and ordered everyone to move slowly toward the rope. In an unknown place, they don't want to stay to see the ancient creatures that may exist. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 97. Before the group of people walked 10 meters away, suddenly the man who was the captain heard a scream of fear from a player in his ear. He turned his head abruptly, and was shocked to find that several disgusting and slippery tentacles were falling from the sky, entangled the body of the team members and pulled them away. As soon as his scalp exploded, he shouted instinctively and looked up along his tentacles, "They are in the sky." Everyone suddenly reacted and looked up together. The appearance of the tentacle owner was immediately exposed to everyone's eyes, and the hapless player was entangled in the tentacles and sent directly into his mouth. The cry of fear stopped. Only the blood and minced meat from the crushed pieces fell, hitting everyone's faces, blurring their vision. It was the captain who reacted first. He held the automatic rifle and directly pressed the trigger. Da-da-da! The spitting fire snake ignited instantly. But the bullet hits the monster with little effect. You can see the bullet stuck in the skin of the slippery, and gradually push out as the monster's body creeps until it falls. All the faces were pale, they were not gifted by prehistoric civilization, unlike the stun gun developed by the Dragon Kingdom Foundation, which can cause harm to mythical creatures. I can only vent modern weapons and keep shooting that monster. Probably irritated by the slight pain, after the monster swallowed the unlucky egg, his body suddenly disappeared in full view. Invisible. It will be invisible. There was a chill in everyone's body, which was difficult to deal with, but what would happen to the other party's invisibility? There is no help. Wait for death. Most people might think this way, and if you are really in it, you will fight for every opportunity to live. Everyone. Run over. The one who can walk is one, and the one who escapes will report the situation to the person above. The Foundation captain rushed to the rope with a big drink, and didn't care about shooting monsters. This is no way, what is the use of not hurting the monster? Instead of doing nothing, it is better to pin your life on illusory luck. What if you are lucky enough to escape? It's not that there is no possibility. It is a pity that they are not prepared to rush into the territory of mythical creatures, and they are doomed to end. The bodies of the amorphous creatures floating around slowly appear and disappear, allowing the tiny human beings to pull the rope and climb up frantically. After a few seconds, the tentacles will be swept over someone and eaten. Listening to the gunshots and shouts of fear and pain from time to time in the ear, the captain's heart raised his throat. Don't be my turn. Don't be my turn. With a fortunate mentality, he actually climbed to the shaft passage with the 3 companions around him. However, before he continued to exert his force, a strong wind blew from the side, even with an unpleasant stench. In the next moment, severe pain came from the lower body. What? With a painful scream, he looked down. The flesh and blood under his thigh was stripped by unknown means, only Bai Senson's leg bones were exposed, with blood dripping down. The severe pain made him almost unable to hold the rope, so he gritted his teeth so hard that he didn't fall off. The fear of being about to die and even suppressing the pain, he was just about to continue working hard when another strong wind blew. When the invisible wind blows, there is only one cold bone left on the rope. Above the well. How about the following? Everyone in Australia patiently waited for news from below at any time. But there was no sound. Perhaps I didn't hear it. No one is thinking in a bad direction. If there is danger, why the Serpent's Hand organization should set up its headquarters here. Whatever you are afraid of, this sentence applies wherever you put it. The crowd chatted lightly, thinking that nothing happened next. Unexpectedly, a screaming scream suddenly spread from below the shaft. It's ours. Someone's expression changed, and he hurriedly moved away from Ken Jing. The others immediately held their weapons and aimed them down, ready to pull the trigger at all times. Xia Ruobing, who was investigating with a telescope, saw the abnormal movement here, and immediately shouted to the companion behind him, "It seems that something has happened." "Where and where? What's the matter?" Zhonglan picked up the binoculars and looked at it first. It was discovered that the group of people from the Australia Foundation had loaded their guns, aiming at the shaft as if they were facing an enemy. Zhonglan snorted, "Even if an accident happens, it deserves it. Whoever makes these people too disgusting, they say that they share the joys and sorrows. Good guys, share the dangers together, but they are the first to see the benefits, and also isolate them. Where is such a person?" Xia Ruobing remained silent, carefully observing the distance, not letting go of any detail. Through the lens, the Australian Foundation and others in the distance suddenly fired at the shaft for some reason, and many people fled out in panic. With her gaze fixed, she said loudly, "Attention everyone, prepare to fight." What did they see? After a few seconds, the doubt was answered. From that solid well, Xia Ruobing watched with his own eyes a few terrifying amorphous monsters rushing out, and all disappeared as they rushed out of the shaft. At the same time, the screaming sound like a whistle suddenly sounded. Invisible? She thought of this ability for the first time. I could see the ground on the Australian Foundation side, and 5-toed radial footprints appeared out of thin air. If you insist on describing it, it is probably similar to a plum blossom-shaped footprint. They can't see their figures from all around, but they can barely grasp the approximate location of the monsters through their footprints and screams. Wrong, good king is good. More than one ability is invisible. Xia Ruobing's horrified discovery, along with the appearance of intangibles, gradually storms appeared in Nikit City. Those who were blown by the storm were stripped of their flesh and blood without any resistance, leaving only a chilling bone, which was intact and could be sent directly to the medical school as a specimen. It's weird. It's weird. The people of the Australian Foundation didn't even have time to use the shelter, and they were all buried in the storm. Retreat. Before Xia Ruobing could speak, his companions had already wisely chosen to escape. Don't you run and wait to die? Fortunately, their group was some distance away from the center of the accident and would not be affected by the storm. Unfortunately, as soon as he entered the tunnel, a storm swept in and destroyed the tunnel leading to the ground. Xia Ruobing and his party were immediately buried in the mud. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 98. Everyone, are you okay? Through the tiny gap, Xia Ruobing asked his companion. Should I say good luck? There is also a relationship that is only mud. Only 4 or 5 people suffered serious injuries, and none of them died. What shall we do next? Zhonglan gritted his teeth and pulled out his thigh from the soil. You can't wait until the person above finds something wrong before you come to us. Waiting to be rescued on the way, I am afraid they will also become medical school specimens. I heard the screaming noise from the outside world one after another, passing by from time to time. Everyone understood that those monsters did not intend to let everyone go. Don't worry, we have containment objects and mythological statues. We have a chance to escape. Xia Ruobing took the second piece of SCP-427 from his pocket and handed it to the injured people. Although this thing is not effective for Wang Li, it is still very effective for others. As for fighting against mythological creatures, it is impossible. Only fools will go to die. Just now I saw the number of constantly drilling out, at least more than 20. There may be more than 363 plus the ability of invisibility and storm. It doesn't matter whether you can escape or not, let alone kill them. While several injured people used SCP-427 to recover their injuries, Xia Ruobing continued to take out 3 mythical statues from his pockets. Since the main target this time is the Snake Hand organization, the containment items carried are all products that are effective against humans. Who knows that the script is not right, but in the end it faces a group of mythical creatures. This is the shortcoming of the containment items, which can only be effective on a certain type, and has great limitations. Fortunately, the mythical statue is still carried. If you use the black goat cub summoned last time and use the remaining 2 statues, you might be able to escape. Holding the black goat infant statue that was split in 2/3, Xia Ruobing changed his hands and gave the other 2 statues to Zhonglan and Li Kai. She is simply unable to summon 3 mythical creatures alone, and being able to summon 1 is the limit, which is also the upper limit of most people's magic power. Let the rest of the team dig through the blocked passage. Xia Ruobing quickly chanted the incantation while listening to the increasingly sharp whistle. From the sources of darkness to the abyss of the stars, from the abyss of the stars to the sources of darkness, it will always be praise to the great Thulhu, praise to Satagwa, and to the unspeakable name of him. Compliments. Always praise them, full of black goats of the forest. Magna Mater. Ah. Gofnhupachubnagurath. The goat that has bred thousands of offspring. To be reasonable, if you want to summon the black goat pups, you must meet the conditions of the moonlit night and the shadow of the dense forest, but the statue omits all the links. Outside, just as an intangible object named Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-law flew across the passage, and the storm moved the soil. Suddenly, a huge black fleshy creature with the crown of a tree emerged from the shadows, opened the blocked passage, and appeared behind everyone. As soon as the black goat pups appeared, the statue on Xia Ruobing's hand completely collapsed. At the same time, Erni, who was holding the other 2 statues, almost finished chanting the mantra back and forth. Suddenly, weird creatures with octopus heads and wings on their backs, as well as uncertain creatures holding flutes that resemble frogs and squids or octopuses appeared next to the black goat. When they were summoned, their names were also engraved into their minds. Star Clan of Thulhu, servant of outer gods. As an independent race that doesn't believe in any gods, the Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-law saw the three mythological creatures and went over without saying a word. As Ifei had said hello in advance, everyone closed their eyes and did not dare to witness the body of the mythical creature. As the black goat cub crashed into the Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-law, the other two mythical creatures also squirmed past. The clan of the stars who resembled the god Thulhu flew up, relying on intuition, directly used claws and tentacles to touch the tentacles that suddenly appeared somewhere, biting each other. Xia Ruobing didn't expect the three of them to fight a group, as long as they created a chance for everyone to escape. Worshipping the blessing of the huge size of the young black goat, where it rushed through, the blocked passage was directly washed away, exposing a pitch-black hole just large enough for one person to pass through. Noting that the servant of the foreign god raised the flute in his hand, Zhang Lan hurriedly shouted, "Go! This guy plays the flute, but it doesn't matter whether we are the enemy or the enemy. If you can control your eyes to see, can your ears be blocked and you can't hear? That's not realistic." Urge her companions to leave, she stayed till the end. After all, the person who uses the statue to summon the mythical creature can slightly resist the abnormal state it brings. Xia Ruobing didn't say anything, and the penultimate rushed towards the passage leading to the ground. Then Zhang Lan immediately followed suit. Two Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-laws wanted to follow, and as the servants of the foreign gods played their flutes, they suddenly became irritable, and they couldn't care about chasing people, and they all surrounded them. Pulling hatred is simply full value. While playing noisy, maddening sorrows, the servants of the foreign gods chanted mantras. At any rate, it is the existence of serving foreign gods, each of them knows 1 to 8 spells, and they are especially good at summoning, controlling and calling spells, including Fei Tian Shui's dominance. Zhang Lan's luck was pretty good. Although the servants of the outer gods she summoned didn't know the spells governing the flying hydra, they used spells with more obvious effects. The poison of the children of hell. Derived from the knowledge given by the deity to his followers, a cloud of golden dust suddenly spilled out of the void, covering all the invisible things that rushed over. Adha! 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 As if concentrated sulfuric acid was poured on the human body, the Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-laws who had been contaminated with dust gave out shrill screams to reveal themselves. The 4 or 5 Fei Tian Shui daughters-in-law who were scattered immediately retreated, and they moved their tentacles away from the dust. Its body in contact with the dust seemed to be corroded by strong acid, emitting smoke and burning, oozing disgusting mucus, and was frightened not to approach it again. After being scattered by this thing, only the most fearsome creatures can continue to fight, commonly known as no brains. Anyone who has a bit of intelligence will not head on. Obviously, the Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-law has wisdom, otherwise hundreds of millions of years ago would not hide in the ground, and they would eventually destroy the city and existence of the ISI people. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 99. In the battle where a spell directly scrapped 4 or 5 Fei Tian Shui daughters-in-law, the servant of the outer god was not strong in combat, but the interference ability was still quite good. Taking this opportunity, the black goat cubs have entangled the 2 flying daughters-in-law with 4 thick tentacles, and frantically beat them to the ground, causing a frenzied explosion. As one of the 3 pillar gods, the black goat that gave birth to thousands of descendants, was a family created by Shabu Nicholas himself. The fighting power of these infants is extremely powerful, which is a few grades higher than ordinary mythical creatures. The only shortcoming is that it is not very intelligent, and it is quite different from other creatures. But this is also normal. If you have powerful force while possessing superb wisdom, it would be too abnormal a little bit. The star family uses the Lalei fog-making technique by the chicken thief, which confuses the sight. As the light mist gradually enveloped the neighborhood, it gradually became thicker and thicker. Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-law seems to have lost their goal. They do not need to rely on sight to lock their prey, but these mists are more hidden and can interfere with biological sensing capabilities. However, this is only a postponement, it can be delayed for a period of time. To put it bluntly, this is the base camp of others. The ghost knows how many flying polyps are in the underground city hidden under the shaft. With only the servant race of the 3 gods, it is less than 1% that it is possible to stop them completely. This is why Xia Ruobing and his party didn't stay and fight side by side, and instead fled without looking back. Just kidding, dozens of hundreds of mythical creatures, and they are not the kind of deep divers with weak talent skills. As soon as the storm blew over and died on the spot, who could withstand it? Sure enough, after the first few minutes, it has the upper hand. As the Feishan Shui daughter-in-law drilled out of the shaft became shorter and shorter, the number even exceeded 100. The 3 summoned monsters could no longer resist. The black goat cubs are relatively good and big enough, even if the situation is the worst, they will not die for a while. The worst are the other 2. The family of the stars is a bit better. At any rate, it is a race that followed the great Thulhu, fought the ancients in the ancient times, and even defeated the ancients. Round fighting ability is only slightly worse than that of black goat juveniles. And with the blessing of Thulhu's mythological incantations, they are immortal. The servants of the outer gods are very miserable. Their special ability is to break the sound and bad music. The inharmonious sounds played by these creatures will have a negative impact on human beings. People whose minds are captured by these music will also become servants, their minds and bodies will be destroyed forever, and they can only dance with the harmony of the outer gods. Therefore, it was called the orchestra of the 3 major evil gods. But it is really a turn to confront other mythical creatures, that is simply abused. The indefinite wriggling body was surrounded and bitten by Feishan Shui daughter-in-laws. The battle between mythological creatures is very bloody and ancient. The storm they summoned has not stopped, and the 3 summoned objects were strangling howling. Continuously broken tentacles fell on the ground, and they struggled and squirmed, as if they were about to split and grow again. Where can the servants of foreign gods bear this kind of grievance? It has always been summoned to assist the summoned dark existence or deity. Now he is surrounded and beaten by a group of evil creatures. As a result, the servants of the foreign gods who were not strong in combat used the skills that they couldn't beat. Summon the gods to come. Under the bite of Feishan Shui daughter-in-law, the servant of the foreign god screamed, and the flute in his hand exudes dreamy brilliance. With its own ability, it communicates with the deities served outside the infinite space-time dimension. Generally using this ability, what can be summoned is usually a great existence related to serving the deity. It seemed to be a complaint to the parents, and then the elder brother, sister, uncle, and uncle might come out to beat someone when they heard it. Of course, the status of the servants of foreign gods is not that high, and the probability of whether great unknown persons will appear is not 100%. But it is definitely more likely than humans to use magic skills. The most important thing is that the closest existence can hear the call more clearly and give a response. Its filthy and distorted appearance was constantly torn apart by its tentacles and its slippery skin, and then frantically avoided the attack from Feishan Shui daughter-in-law. After all, the enemy also has a brain, bullying and fearing hardship. The black goat cubs and the clan of the stars are not easy to do, of course they catch the weakest. 0. Look for flowers. The dust spell just now scared the Feishan Shui daughter-in-law, and seeing that this guy was doing a ghost again, he immediately went to vainly tried to interrupt the casting. After summoning 3 statues of evil gods, the 3 teams of the Dragon Kingdom hurriedly fled towards the ground in embarrassment. This incident has exceeded the scope of their processing capabilities. If they remain there, they will be able to enjoy the scenes of hundreds of flying hydra swarms dancing wildly. Most of them glanced back, and there was no sound from the dark passage. Hey! Hey, did we really escape? Someone gasped in disbelief. At this point, Zhang Lan swallowed hard and replied, "It's true. Everyone has a feeling of being left behind." Even after confirming the authenticity, he didn't dare to stop running, because there seemed to be a slight movement behind him. They don't know, this is because the Feishan Shui daughters all appeared in the dungeons of the dungeon, and at the same time used the ability combination to expand the power and scope of the impact. A single Feishan Shui daughter-in-law may be difficult to deal with, but they have undeniable weaknesses. For example, whistle and footprint. Even if invisible, there are ways to find out the location. But once their numbers reach a terrible level, that is the real disaster. Feishan Shui daughter-in-law can guide a storm with her companions, and all participating members can provide a wind speed of half a mile per hour for the storm. This storm is regional and can expand to as much as 10 square miles. If the number reaches tens of thousands, the mighty force will show unimaginable horror. Their storms have the ability to hold themselves, and they can also dry the victim's skin and flesh in a short period of time until it falls off. Think about it a little bit, if there is such a group of creatures that can control wind-limited natural disasters, flying around the world, it is really a disaster comparable to the end of the day. Fortunately, after hundreds of millions of years of degradation, this creature is on the verge of extinction, and it hates light and loves the underground. After taking over the status of the Islamic, staying in his own basalt city from ancient times to the present, has not been discovered. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Chapter 100. In fact, it is placed on the stone tablet in the center of the library, which records the information of the Yi's people about the Fishan Shui daughter-in-law. It's just that the complete inscription is a confession to others not to try to open the existence under the solid well. The latter part was broken by the people of the Serpent's Hand organization, so the remaining section only contains information about what is hidden under the shaft. To put it simply, the people of the Foundation were deceived. This is the gift left to them by the Serpent's Hand organization. How could those people be willing to keep a good Nakit city? They must do some tricks, otherwise they would not be in line with their status at all. As for being so obvious, why don't you try to cover it up? I'm not afraid of being treated as a trap. These issues were never considered by the Snake Hand leader. As long as those people want to develop this city, 363 will definitely open the Devil's Abyss and release Fishan Shui daughter-in-law. As for the Foundation, will all the unknowns be opened? The other party did not worry about this problem, and could get a bequest from a prehistoric civilization, and no one could resist the temptation. Even if you pay a certain price, you must get what you leave behind. This kind of thing can be thought of with a little thought. Hurry up, don't dawdle. I am worried that things are not that simple. Seeing that the players heard the faint movement and tended to slow down and look back, Xia Ruobing immediately reprimanded. Be cautious when coming down, and you can move slowly. When it was the turn to escape, one was faster than the other. In less than 10 minutes, everyone saw the bright passage leading to the ground, and at the same time, the movement behind was getting louder and louder. The surrounding walls were shaking and shaking, as if this area was about to collapse. As soon as everyone rushed out of the passage, the vibration reached its highest limit. Run! Get out of here! The first person to rush out of the tunnel didn't care to explain, and immediately shouted at the crowd outside. At this moment, under the ground, thousands of flying daughters-in-law floated in the ruins of Nakit City, and those lines that had not lost their effect were eroded by the storm and no longer flickered. The black goat cub was surrounded by Fei Tian Shui daughter-in-law, and only the occasional trampling vibrations could indicate that it was still alive. When the star family was dying, they were engulfed by the invisible void that conveyed the sound of the waves. The sequelae caused by the gathering of many mythical creatures in a pile is the gradual escalation of the storm, the whistling boulders rolling around, destroying all the surrounding environment. Mud and stones fell continuously from the ceiling of the cave, and the ground and walls began to crack and were severely damaged by the storm. After experiencing such a long time of erosion, the surrounding pillars were overwhelmed, and then encountering a scene comparable to a Category 10 hurricane was like the last straw that overwhelmed a camel. The rumbling vibration was transmitted to the ground from the bottom of the ground, and the ground overturned directly. The awakened flying hydra vows to kill all invaders. They flew up along the cracked gap, and a large number of Fishan Shui daughter-in-law broke through the soil hard. The tentacles that constantly appeared and disappeared on his body made a lot of effort in this situation, and easily opened the passage to the ground. It might be simpler if it is replaced by the burrowing monster. The few Fishan Shui daughter-in-laws left behind grabbed the foreign servants and black goat cubs who had almost lost the ability to resist, and kept flying high in the sky, absorbing their vitality. No way, 3 pairs of a group, it's weird if you can beat it. What's more, there are people who are proficient in magic in the Fishan Shui daughter-in-law, even if they don't believe in any gods, they belong to an independent race. The desert above the ground. Perceived that something is wrong, coupled with the shouts of the people from the Dragon Kingdom Foundation, the people outside have not had time to ask where the others are. A terrible crack suddenly appeared on the ground, separating the crowd from the armored vehicle, and a violent gust of wind leaked from the crack. Some hapless guys came into contact with the storm, and saw that their figures suddenly stopped, moving with difficulty, but they could only move slowly, as if they had suffered a hold in technique. After only 10 seconds, the flesh and blood on his body dried and evaporated, leaving behind a sentence of Bisenson's skeleton. Seeing this scene, the others were all dead, and there was no thought to ask Xia Ruobing and his party about the situation below. There must have been an accident. Everyone drove to the outside and ran away. The earth cracked like a spider web, and some unlucky eggs fell directly into the cracked abyss. The helicopters had to stay away from the howling storm and quickly reported the situation here. Suddenly, none of these people knew what happened. Except for scenes of natural disasters like earthquakes, there were also weird storms, and none of the enemies saw them. Team Xiao, what is going on? Seeing that my family ran out like crazy, the people who responded outside followed and hurried to inquire about the situation. Now is not the time to talk about this. I can only say that the people in Australia have caused trouble. They have dug up the nests of mythological creatures. We will talk about the details when we escape. What? Hearing this, the people outside were shocked, and then the scalp became numb. What does the nest of mythical creatures represent? In fact, every mythical creature is strictly counted as an SCP item, but there are too many, and it becomes an organizational system, so it is separately included in another file. But, didn't you see anything? The respondent was puzzled. They will be invisible. As soon as the voice fell, there was a sudden movement in the sky. Suddenly, a flying helicopter could not move. The driver hurriedly adjusted the instrument and found that there was no abnormality. He couldn't help but wonder, how to get back. 5.8 Before the question was spoken, a huge monster suddenly appeared in the front field of vision. I don't know when, it wraps around the whole body, and its body crawls to fit the helicopter skin. Then the pilot and the people inside immediately discovered that the outer shell metal of the helicopter was being eroded at an extremely fast rate. Not only this helicopter, but 7 or 8 helicopters are surrounded by monsters that constantly change shapes. These creatures are invisible and can't figure out where they are. Only plum blossom-shaped footprints can be found on the ground. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. Their speed is terrifying, and the first target is the iron knot flying in the sky. Fortunately, Xia Ruobing immediately reported the situation to the people above to make up his mind. Thank you for reading this story at fictionzone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.